بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له رب العالمين وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله المبعوث رحمة للعالمين صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are going to have our annual Fiqh of Zakat seminar. This is a very important seminar and workshop where we will be discussing in detail, inshallah, the fiqh of calculating zakah, one of the pillars of our deen, pillars of Islam. And majority of the Muslim Ummah, they calculate their zakah and try to discharge it in the month of Ramadan because it is an unbeatable deal from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. من أدى فريضة فيه كان كمن أدى 70 فريضة فيما سواه. It is a buy one get 70 free deal. You might have heard of buy one get one free, but in the month of Ramadan, you fulfill one farad obligation, you get the reward of 70. Maybe I should say buy one get 69 free. In any case, you get the reward of 70 outside of Ramadan. So it is a no-brainer that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is His mercy is extending so much in this month of Ramadan, amazing, that He gives the reward of 70 zakat outside of Ramadan, then we should try to discharge it in the month of Ramadan. So I'm going to be going over 2 PowerPoints, inshallah, and we will take all of your questions at the end. First, I will start with the Fiqh of Zakat by Mufti Faraz Adam Al-Mahmoudi, and then I'll continue with a few slides from Mufti Abrar Mirza. So I wanted to acknowledge the great Muftis who came up with these PowerPoints and made it easy for us. And right at the get-go, I would like to remind the listeners, respected listeners, that we have so many programs here at DarusSalam. We have the Tafsir Daily program at night, and we have the Tazkiyah Talk by Mufti Minhajuddin, etc. So many of the listeners are the frequent listeners to the other programs. You may be used to tuning in and out, and you also may be used to being engaged in other household tasks while you're listening, and that's absolutely fine. However, the nature of today's talk is very different. It is highly technical, and it is not something which is merely to encourage people and to inspire them, but rather to educate you, inshallah. So that you are going to be learning how to calculate the zakah and the fiqh of zakah. And it can get very technical at times. So because of the nature of this discussion, I would strongly recommend everyone who wants to gain the full benefit to focus and give their undivided attention. And we will be going through slides, inshallah. So pay attention to the slides so you have something visually to follow as well. But instead of getting distracted, inshallah. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What is zakat? Linguistically, it means purity, praise, growth, and blessing. The word zakat. Every term in the Sharia has a linguistic meaning, and it has a Shari'i meaning. It is known as al-ma'na al-lughawi and al-ma'na al-istilahi. The lughi meaning is referring to the meaning in the dictionary, and then the Shari'i meaning is referring to what it means in the Sharia context. So the word zakat has multiple linguistic meanings. It has the meaning of purity and praise and growth and blessing. So purity, for example, you have the tazkiyatun nafs, purification of the heart. Praise, you have, like Allah Ta'ala says, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, do not praise yourselves. The growth you have, like the Arabs, يقول العرب زكى الزرع إذا نما, that there's zakat of the crops when they grow. It is known as zakah. And there's blessing. So all of the linguistic meanings are actually found in the Shari'i meaning. Because when we discharge the zakat of the money that Allah Ta'ala has blessed us with, our savings, this will purify our wealth. This will make us praiseworthy in the eyes of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And this will grant us more growth and blessing in our wealth as well. So all of the linguistic meanings are found in the Shari'i meaning. And the Shari'i meaning in Islamic law is هي تمليك بعض مال جزما عينه الشارع لفقير مسلم لله تعالى. To give a fixed amount of specified wealth to a needy Muslim for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. So we're going to talk about what the fixed amount is. Of course, that is the easy part. It's 2.5% of specified wealth. Which are the zakatable assets? We will discuss that. Not all the wealth, not every type of asset, but specified wealth. Who are the needy Muslims, and is that something subjective or objectively defined? We will discuss that. Who are the eligible recipients? For the sake of Allah Ta'ala, meaning it should not be a compensation for services or any other intention, but rather for the pleasure of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Nothing in exchange. There should be no tangible or intangible benefits returning back to the one who is discharging the zakah. It has to be solely for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. We do not even need thanks from you. We are fulfilling the obligation Allah Ta'ala has placed on us. So normally I go into more detail, but I've had past experience that this workshop can become really long. I don't want to scare you. It can go on to like 2 hours. So I'm going to be trying to move a little bit faster through the slides, inshallah. And I would like to mention right here as well that if you have any questions during the course of the presentation, please text them to 630-360-2373. 630-360-2373. And inshallah, or you can send it to the live chat on YouTube. You can send your questions to the live chat on YouTube. And don't feel sad that we are ignoring your questions, but just to continue the flow and to ensure that we get through the material, we will conclude the presentation and then go to all the questions. But don't hold your questions until the Q&A session starts. Ask them as they come to your mind, because if you wait, you might forget to ask the question. All right, moving forward. Where is zakat established? The Quran, it is mentioned numerous places in the Quran, the book of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. One ayah as an example is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, and establish prayer and give the zakah. So over here, آتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, it is a command from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala uses the imperative verb, the fi'l amr, which indicates its wujub. Al-amru lil-wujub. Whenever Allah Ta'ala uses the imperative verb, this is an usul of fiqh, a principle of jurisprudence. When Allah Ta'ala uses the commanding verb, then whatever Allah Ta'ala is commanding, this becomes followed upon us. Unless there is some unique circumstance where there are qara'in and indicators that it is not wajib. So I see some people are asking on the live chat to repeat the number. As I mentioned, you can, instead of texting the number, you can just ask the question on the live chat itself, if that's easy for you, so that you can ask the number right on the live chat. You can ask your question right on the live chat, or you can text the number as has been entered. Okay. Aqimu salata wa atu zakah. Establish prayer and give zakah. So this is an amr, command from Allah Ta'ala. And then the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أن الله افترض عليهم صدقة في أموالهم تؤخذ من أغنيائهم فترد في فقرائهم. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it obligatory for them to pay the zakah upon their assets, and it has to be taken from the wealthy amongst them and given to the poor amongst them. So this is a hadith that uses the word iftarada. Allah has made it obligatory, made it farad, to give the sadaqah and the zakat. So sadaqah, some people might be confused by this term because normally we use it for voluntary nafal charity. So the term sadaqah is actually comprehensive of both. It's a general term. So there's sadaqat wajiba, there's the farad sadaqah, and then there's sadaqah nafila, the nafal sadaqah. So sadaqah of wajiba includes zakat and includes the sadaqatul fitr, which is also wajib. And then sadaqah nafila, the voluntary charity, that is above and beyond that. And another point from this hadith that we can see is تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ فَتُرَدُّ فِي فُقَرَائِهِمْ. This is a rigorously authenticated narration of Sahih al-Bukhari. And over here, Allah Ta'ala or Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying it should be taken from the wealthy of a particular people and given back to the poor amongst those same people. So this teaches us that the primary recipients should be from the same locality. If they are needy people in the same area, they deserve the zakat of that area, because the wealthy of a particular people should support the poor of the same people. So if they are needy people that require assistance, financial assistance in your own country, then you would start with them, and then you would take care of others in other countries. This is understood from the text of the hadith. Okay, why zakat? I'm going to start from 12 o'clock and go clockwise. From the top to the right. It is a command of Allah Ta'ala. Simply, we are the slaves of Allah and Allah is our master. He is our Lord. And we need to abide by the commands of our Lord. Okay? We don't have an option. Zakat is not optional. If we are true Muslims and we submit to the will of Allah, we must discharge zakah. Okay. These initial discussions, I'm going to go faster through them because I want to spend more time on the actual calculation. Whoever is listening to this program already believes in zakat and wants to pay it, and that's why they're here and listening, because they want to learn how to calculate it. So that is the meat of the discussion. And those who do not want to discharge the zakat, may Allah forgive us, may Allah guide us and guide them. May Allah Ta'ala forgive us and them. They feel that, I'm just paying my taxes, that's my zakat. And all of some of these other wrong opinions that are floating around, they wouldn't even tune in, right? Because they're not interested. So I'm preaching to the choir here. Everyone understands this is a command of Allah. But additional benefits that we can see so that it will encourage us further is number 2, purifies the soul. It purifies the heart from the love of dunya when we discharge the zakah, and from greed and wealth from impurity. So it purifies the soul from greed, and it purifies the wealth from impurity, both. And then when it says purifies the wealth from impurity, means that all the evil effects of that wealth will be taken away, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, insha'Allah, grant us barakah in our wealth. And that is the most important thing. I don't want to go on a far tangent, but I just want to mention this ayah in the Quran wherein Allah Ta'ala says, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَى وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys the economy and the wealth through riba, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases it through zakat and sadaqah. So at first glance, this may defy our logic. If a person has $100 and gives $10 in zakat and sadaqah, $2.50 in zakat, and he gives $7.50, $7.5 in sadaqah, so he gives $10 total. So now he has $90 left in his pocket. And on the other hand, somebody takes $100 and gives it in an interest-bearing loan for 10%, and he gets back $110. So the one who engaged in riba got $110. The one who gave zakat and sadaqah got $90. They both started $100. So the question might arise in our minds that how is $90 greater than $110? This just doesn't add up. This is simple, straightforward math, that $90 is less than $110. So how do we understand this ayah then? because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken the truth. So what this tells us is that um, we are incorrect that we measure wealth by quantifying it. We measure wealth by quantifying it. And that is why it is true. And we don't have to be afraid to mention this fact. It is true that $90 is less than $110. The one who gave zakat and sadaqah, he has less money, and the one who got in who gave an interest bearing loan, he got more money. So we are making the mistake that we are measuring wealth by quantifying it, and that's why we get the wrong conclusion. The true measure of wealth is not to quantify it, but rather to see how much benefit can be derived from that wealth. How much benefit, peace of mind, contentment, happiness can be derived from the wealth versus pain, misery, calamities, difficulties. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the peace and contentment and the happiness that will be derived from the $90 will be much greater than the pain and the torment, the depression, the anxiety, and the calamities that are associated with the $110. That is the true measurement of wealth, because at the end of the day, you don't eat the money, and you don't drink the money, and you don't sleep on money, and the money doesn't give you peace. It is with the money you buy things, and with the things you get your needs fulfilled and even desires fulfilled. So there will be more fulfillment of desires and happiness with the $90 than there will be with the $110. So this is how zakat and sadaqah grants us barakah in our wealth. And this is an ultimate reality. And it protects us from calamities. Another next point, why zakat promotes circulation of wealth in the economy. It is the right of the needy people. It bridges the gap between the affluent and needy, creates love and respect and muhabbah, compassion from the wealthy side, and appreciation from the poor people's side. It reduces inequality in amount of wealth between the rich and poor. So these are some reasons why we discharge zakat. What are some virtues and admonitions? Right? This is wa'ad and wa'id, promises and warnings in relation to zakah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira, and a bringer of glad tidings and a warner. Right? This is the ilm al-targhib wa tarhib, to encourage us and to warn us. So there are many ahadith that encourage us and many ayat that encourage us to spend in the path of Allah, and there are also warnings for not spending in the path of Allah. Allah Ta'ala says in the first ayah, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالًا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ أَنبَتَتْ سَبْعَ سَنَابِلَ فِي كُلِّ سُنبُلَةٍ مِئَةُ حَبَّةٍ وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. This is the first ayah on the left-hand side. The example of those who spend their wealth in the path of Allah is like a seed of grain which grows 7 spikes. And each spike is 100 grains. 700 times Allah will multiply, and Allah can multiply more than that. SubhanAllah, Allah can multiply 200 times or more. If you go 700 times or more. If you go down, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ كَفَارٍ أَثِيمٍ. I already discussed this ayah. Allah destroys interest and gives increase for charities. And how do we understand that in the proper context? The true measure of wealth is not by quantifying it, but rather in the amount of benefit derived from that wealth. And the next ayah on the top, وَالَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ, and those who hoard gold and silver, وَلَا يُنْفِقُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and they do not spend in the path of Allah Ta'ala, فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ, give them the tidings that they will have a painful punishment. يَوْمَ يُحْمَى عَلَيْهَا فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ, on that day the gold and silver, may Allah protect us, this is very terrifying. يَوْمَ يُحْمَى عَلَيْهَا فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ, on that day it will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam. فَتُكْوَى بِهَا جِبَاهُهُمْ, and they will be branded and seared with it on their foreheads. وَجُنُوبُهُمْ, and their flanks, their sides. وَظُهُورُهُمْ, and their backs. And it will be said, هَذَا مَا كَنَزْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ, this is what you hoarded for yourselves. فَذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْنِزُونَ, so taste what you used to hoard. Right? So this is a very severe warning. First are the virtues and the rewards, and then the warnings as well. The scholars explain here that why the foreheads and the sides and their backs is because when a needy person would come to ask, then they would start frowning with their forehead, and they would make a face like, get it away from me, you scum, right? They would be arrogant. So they would frown with their foreheads. So that is why the forehead is mentioned. Then they would turn 90 degrees away and show their side of their body, their sides, their flanks will be branded. Then eventually they would turn 180 degrees and show their back. That is why وَظُهُورُهُمْ, their backs. الْجَزَاءُ مِنْ جِنْسِ الْعَمَلِ. The punishment will be based on the nature of the crime. And then lastly, to end on a good note, is a virtue. Those who spend their wealth, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُم بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, by night and by day, سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً, secretly and publicly. Secretly and publicly. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, they will receive the reward with their Lord, Allah Ta'ala. وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, and they will have neither fear nor grief. May Allah Ta'ala make us amongst them. Subhanallah. No fear, no grief, inshallah, with reward from Allah Ta'ala. One thing to note here is that sirran wa alaniya, secretly and publicly, both are mentioned in the Quranic ayah. When is it recommended to give it secretly, and when is it recommended to give it publicly? So when you want to hide the identity of the recipient, then it is better to give it secretly. You don't have to tell the whole world that I give zakat to Zayd and to Amr, to Bakr, and he is a recipient of zakat from me. There's no reason for people to know that. That's secretly. When is it rewarding to give publicly? When there is a public need and everyone knows about this need, then it is rewarding to give publicly, because in this case, you'll be encouraging people. So at the end, inshallah, unashamedly, I'm going to let you guys know right from the beginning, I'm going to be making a plea for our beloved students of knowledge, sacred knowledge, who are here studying, and they need funds, zakat funds. They're zakat eligible, and we vet them. We go and ensure they're zakat eligible, and we need money for their tuition, for their food. The out-of-state students from the 26 states that are studying, for their food, and also for their expenses, their rent, for their accommodation. So this is a public need. Everyone is aware of this. So in this case, you can donate publicly. You can send your pledge on the YouTube channel. You can type it up on the comments there, or you can text it to 630-360-2373, inshallah. That is an example of donating publicly, because there's no particular recipient you're highlighting, and it is a public cause. Next thing are, what are the conditions for zakat? Okay, now we're getting into the fiqh of the matter, right? First we finished the fadail, the virtues. Now we're going to the masail, the fiqh, and how to calculate. So the conditions are that the person has to be Muslim. So that means that there is no zakat for a non-Muslim. All right. If somebody takes a shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, is a convert, you don't have to tell the brother, okay, brother, since you became baligh, it's been 20 years, you have to calculate the zakat for the past 20 years. No, absolutely not. Since he was not a Muslim. When a person is not a Muslim, they're not obligated to perform salah, to give zakat, to go for hajj, to fast in Ramadan. They only have one obligation. The obligation they have is to recite the shahada and become Muslim. And once they become Muslim, then everything applies. So the conditions for zakat are that they have to be Muslim. And number two is they have to be an adult. With respect to being an adult, in the Hanafi fiqh, there is no zakat on the wealth of minors. In the Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali schools of law, if minors have money, they have to give zakat as well. However, we are going to take the Hanafi opinion here, and I'm mentioning it from the Hanafi fiqh perspective, that minors do not have to give zakat. So if the parents, they put aside funds in their children's names, and they put it in their account, and the parent is just a guardian or trustee, it is like a college fund, for example, for their children. If they are minors, then there is no zakat on that wealth as a minor. Okay, that is something to note. There is no zakat on the wealth of minors. If the parents have allotted some money and put aside some money in their children's accounts for their college education, or for their wedding, like traditionally mothers used to put aside gold jewelry, and they still do for their daughter's wedding. So if the daughter is owning that wealth, that gold, there is no zakat on it, as they are minors until they reach puberty. And that would be the first nocturnal emission or a wet dream that the boy would have. and it would be the first menstruation or the period that the girl would experience. Then they would be considered baligh. In the absence of any physical signs of puberty, they would be classified as adults and baligh at the age of 15. If there is a delay in the onset of puberty, they would uh, automatically be considered baligh at the age of 15. So that is explanation of adult. Next one is aqil. Muslimun balighun aqilun. Number three, aqilun, sane. The one who is insane, the one who is categorically majnoon, insane, there is no zakat on his wealth because he is not mukallaf of the Sharia. The Sharia commandments are not obligating upon him. And the next thing is owner and possessor of wealth equaling nisab. Right, this is the big deal. We're going to talk about nisab in greater detail as we move forward. Nisab basically is a particular threshold defined by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that a person who is in possession of nisab has to give the zakah, and the one who does not have a nisab does not have to give zakah. Nisab in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 20 dinar gold coins and 200 or 200 dirham silver coins. Now, what is the value of 20 dinar and 20 dirham? We will come to it, inshallah, in the current value of gold and silver. Okay, so I wanted to demystify this term. What is nisab? Because you're going to hear this a lot. So nisab is a threshold defined by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for gold and silver, right? The one who is in possession of it has to give zakat. The one who does not have nisab does not have to give zakat. Rather, that person would be eligible to receive zakat. That is the person who is poor. Remember, when we said you can give zakat to poor people, how do we define who is poor? It is not something subjective. I think he's poor. I think she is poor. She seems to be a good recipient of zakat. Basically, we have to find out if they are possessing nisab or not. Okay, so these are the conditions for zakat being farad. I hope this is clear. This slide is really important. Okay, let it sink in, inshallah. Now we move in to the next slide. The nisab for gold is 87.48 grams. Okay, what is the value of 87.48 grams? As of May 3rd, 2020, that is $4,789.53. You don't have to rush to write this down because at the end of the presentation, we're going to go to the zakat calculator and I'll show it to you. It is there on our zakat calculator. We worked pretty much all of last night and a few days and whole of last night on this zakat calculator to have it ready for the presentation. And I want to make a shout out to Ahmed Bhai. He is our website developer. He worked tirelessly the entire night on this. So this is really exciting for us. This is the first time we have this ready to present, and we're going to go live with it today. And those who are listening are the first people who are going to hear about this. And then, inshallah, you will benefit greatly, and you will have the full benefit because you are going through the seminar, you're going through the workshop, and I'm going to walk through the whole zakat calculator. So you will have a 100% understanding, inshallah, good understanding of what's going on. So at the end of the zakat calculator, we have the nisab. So 87.48 grams of gold as of May 3rd, 2020. It is $4,789.53. So this is, as we know, the gold price fluctuates, every hour. This is the value as of today. It's a decent amount of money, all right? Why I'm saying decent, you'll see shortly. Because silver is 612.36 grams, right? This was 200 dirhams in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So 612 it's a lot more grams than gold, but the value of silver is less. So if we want to see in dollars how much is the silver nisab, right, is significantly less, right? Significantly less. This was $4,789, approximately $4,800, $4,800, right? To round it off, the gold was around $4,800, 4,800, right? Now let me switch it to silver and show you what the silver would be on the calculator I'm working on the site. The silver is only $300, $300 only. So where's $4,800? Where's $300? Huge difference. Okay, so if you only possess gold, you go with the gold nisab, of course. If you only possess a silver, you go with the silver nisab, right? And this bottom here, it says if you possess mixed assets, go with the silver nisab, right? So this is, as I mentioned, Mufti Faraz is the one who did this PowerPoint. It's really good. But there are certain new developments. So traditionally, the scholars would say that you should go with the lower nisab so that more people have to give zakat. And it will be beneficial for the fuqara, for the needy people. This is known as anfa' lil fuqara, more beneficial for poor people. So if you say that people who have savings of $300 have to give zakah, a lot more people would have to give zakah. Versus if you say people who have savings up to $4,800 have to give zakah. Don't have to give zakat. Those who have exceed $4,800 or more have to give zakah, and less than $4,800 don't have to give zakah. Less people would have to give zakah. So that is why traditionally the scholars have written and mentioned that use the silver nisab. Okay. Now, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ratio of gold to silver was 1 to 10. The value. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, for the gold nisab, he mentioned 20 dinar. And for the silver nisab, he mentioned 200 dirhams. All right. When I teach the students, I make it easy for them to remember. I say that, we have the golden deen. Right. So dinar is gold and dirham is silver. Just to make it easy to remember, because these terms, which one is the gold coin, which one is the silver coin, it becomes confusing because both start with dal or with a D in English, dinar, dirham. So dinar that has deen in it, that's gold, and dirham is silver. So 200 dirhams, silver, and 20 dinars. So it was 1 to 10. Now the ratio between gold and silver is around 1 to 110. 1 to 110. So it is the gold price has gone so much higher and the silver price has gone so lower. So now the scholars are looking at it and saying that if you want to make it easier for poor people by saying, everyone just use the silver nisab, you're actually not making it easier for people, you're making it more difficult. Because practically speaking, if a person has $300 in the bank and that's all the money he has, is that person going to be considered in the society as a rich person or a poor person? That person by no standard is considered rich. And this comes to a real this point. It can really be driven home when we come to udhiyah. Look at it. In udhiyah, qurbani, all right, a person who is in possession of nisab has to do the qurbani. Okay, this is agreed upon issue. If you are in possession of nisab, you have to do the qurbani, the udhiyah, the sacrifice in Zulhijjah, on the 10th, 11th, or 12th of Zulhijjah. You have to do it. And you don't even have the stipulation of the money remaining in your possession for an entire year. As long as on Eid al-Adha day you are in possession of nisab, you have to give the goat. Now, if the nisab you're going to go with $300, then that's pretty much the value of the goat nowadays. So the guy who has the silver nisab, he has to literally go down to zero. You'll say, brother, you have $300, you have to give us a goat. He's going to say like, oh my God, if I give a goat, I have no money left. So that's why it's very problematic to go with the silver nisab. So our beloved and respected Sheikh Mufti Rada al-Haq Sahab, Grand Mufti of South Africa, in his Fatawa Darul Zakaria, and also the American Fiqh Academy, all of them have now given fatwa that we can go with the gold standard. In our calculator that we will come to, we have kept an option. You want to go with the gold nisab, you want to go with the silver nisab. Both options are there. The reason we kept the option is because people who are reading up on older fatwa and older books, or have heard from senior scholars to use the silver, as in this presentation itself, it says if you have mixed assets, then you use the silver nisab, because that is more beneficial for poor people. More people will end up having to give zakat. Then, by all means, they can go ahead and use the silver nisab, because scholars have given fatwa regarding that. But those who understand the new fatwa and the basis for it, that it actually makes more sense to go with gold, then they can most definitely go ahead with gold and do not feel guilty. If somebody has more than $300 and less than $4,800 in between, for example, he has $500 in the bank, does he have to give zakat? So I can confidently say, inshallah, based on the research of these senior muftis who say go ahead with the gold nisab, inshallah, he does not have to give zakat. If he has $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $4,500, as long as he is beneath the gold nisab, he does not have to give zakat. If someone wants to go ahead and use the silver nisab, they are absolutely welcome to do so. They can go ahead and use silver nisab, and there's no penalty in that. They're just paying zakat that may not be necessary, or we believe is not necessary. Okay, so that is the whole discussion on the gold nisab and the silver nisab. And this is really important. So that is why I spent some time on it. I hope it is clear. Okay? I don't know if I need to repeat myself. Right? Simply, there are two thresholds stipulated by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For gold, it's 87.48 grams. For silver, it's 612.36 grams. Traditionally, the scholars said go with the silver nisab, which would be $300. But recently, the scholars have moved towards going with the gold standard, which is around $4,800, based on the current prices today. All right. Next slide. What is a cycle for calculating zakat? Okay. This is very important as well. So there is some confusion regarding the whole concept of remaining in possession of the money for a year. Some people feel that the money has to, any particular money for which I discharge the zakah, has to remain in my possession for one entire year. And that is a wrong concept, because that would actually make it way more difficult. Because if somebody gets their paycheck on the 15th and 30th of the month, for example, right, twice a month, and they spend, for example, 80% of that money, and they save 20%, well, that's really great if they can do that. Maybe more realistically, they save 5% or 10%. Okay, so let's say for the sake of the discussion and as an example, they save 10%, that's great, right? That's what the financial advisors say, 10% of the money, put it aside as if you never earned it. So 10% of the money they save, 90% of the money they spend, right? On the 15th, on the 30th of every month. So that 10%, when would it remain in your possession for 1 year? It would remain in your possession for 1 year when 12 lunar months pass and that date comes again. So twice a month as you are receiving money, then every month the following year you would have to give zakat, right? Because on the 15th, that 10% has remained in your possession for 1 year. Like you gave it, for example, in Muharram, right? On the 15th of Muharram, you received a paycheck, and the 30th of Muharram, you received a paycheck. I'm not using January, February, March, because we have to go with the lunar year. Then the next year on the 15th, and the next year on the 30th, you would have to give zakat on that 10%. So literally, you would have to give zakat every few weeks, twice a month, right? As the money comes in twice a month, then you have to give zakat twice a month, because those dollars and those cents have remained in your possession for 1 year. And between the 15th and 30th from your staple salary, if you had any other income from any other source, through gifts, through bonuses, through inheritance, then as soon as that entered your possession, you would have to calculate that date, note it down, and give zakat 1 year later. That would make life much more difficult. So this concept that the money has to remain in your possession for one entire year, it has to be explained. It doesn't mean that every single cent has to remain in your possession for an entire year. Rather, what it means is you as a person have to be the possessor of nisab. You have to have, like, for example, $4,800 As soon as you reach that, then you note that down for the first time. For example, a person just started out, young student, started earning money, having savings. As soon as he hits $4,800 for the first time, then he needs to note that date down, that Islamic date down. Now he is a possessor of Nisab, which is known as Sahib al-Nisab. And then throughout the year, any fluctuations, whether the money increases or decreases, he does not have to worry about that. He doesn't have to keep track of all of the increases or decreases throughout the year. And then 1 year from that date, again, on that date, if he is Sahib al-Nisab, if he is in possession of Nisab, more than $4,800, after one entire year passes, he will have to give 2.5% of that, whatever his savings are on the due date. So this is important. So there are a few scenarios here. What if it happens that during the course of the year, his savings dip below the nisab? No problem. It will not affect the counting of the year. Okay. So if he had $4,800 on Ramadan 1st, and then what happens is throughout the year, Ramadan, Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, his money went down to $4,500, $4,000, $3,500, $3,000, $2,500, $2,000, $1,500, any lesser amount. That doesn't make a difference. His year will still continue to be counted. Okay? Until when he comes back to the next year, Ramadan 1st, if he has $4,800 or more, you will have to give zakat on that. The only thing is, if during the course of the year he hits rock bottom, zero, right, and then he goes into negative, into debts, or even if he stops at zero, then the counting of that year would terminate. And once again, when he starts earning money and hits 4,800, a new year will begin. So going back to our example, on Ramadan 1st, the person had $4,800. Then say in Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, he was fine. Then the next year in Muharram, what happens is, next calendar year, right, the zakat year is still continuing. In Muharram, he had some tragedy, financial tragedy, and what happened is he ended up hitting $0. So then in Safar he went up to 2,500, Rabiul Awal 3,500, Rabiul Thani he hit 4,800 again. From Rabiul Thani his new year will begin. Okay, those number of months that have passed that he had $4,800 after Ramadan, those will cancel out. To the extent that if this happens even a few days before his due date, then zakat would not be necessary for him to give, would not be farad. Meaning he had $4,800 in Ramadan 1st, pretty much the entire year, 11 months, okay, and 20 days pass. A few days before his due date, he ends up hitting zero. There's no zakat for him. All right? So I'm mentioning this first before I mention the next masala, because this one is, you feel sorry for the person, he got zero, and he doesn't have to give zakat. How about the other case, where if a person had $4,800 in Ramadan, and he hovered around $5,000 for the majority of the year, but right before, like maybe 2 days, 1 day even before his due date, he sold his house or he inherited a fortune, and he ends up having $500,000, and that $500,000 entered into his possession a single day before his due date. Does he have to give zakat for it? What do you think? Since he remained a possessor of nisab a year ago, and now on his due date, he's also a possessor of nisab, but this particular money came into his possession only 1 day ago, he will still have to discharge the 2.5% of the entire amount. This is a FAQ, frequently asked question. People say that, I sold my house, but I sold my house a week ago, Mufti Sahib, and I'm planning to buy a house. I have planned expense, but it's still not incurred. You're still searching for the new house, and you haven't purchased it yet. All right. So do I have to give zakat on this huge amount of money that's temporarily in my hand just for a few weeks, and this a huge amount of cash, right? Because if it was in the form of the house is not zakatable. Since you liquidated it, right? You turned the house into cash, and now you have the cash in your hands, and you haven't bought another house with it. Now, since it's in the zakatable form, it would be zakatable. You would have to discharge 2.5% of the cash that you have in your possession. Okay, so this is what this slide is about. Let's go over the text on the slide. It says here on the first box, that the day you own the Nisab amount after deducting liabilities, pencil this Islamic date in your diary, right? This is for our young folk who are listening to this, who are starting out their careers. Otherwise, everyone else, may Allah forgive us if you weren't paying it earlier. We can continue paying it in Ramadan. Another thing is, I want to mention here is that you have to give the zakat on the Islamic date when you first become possessor of Nisab. What if it's in, what if that date is like some random date in Rajab, Rajab 5th, right? Uh, Rajab 5th, subhanallah, right? It was, you know how they have those calculator conversion, uh, Gregorian calendar dates conversions to Islamic dates, like an Islamic Finder and other websites they have it. So when I was a kid, I remember like years ago, I was curious to find out my birthday, and so I typed in May 20th and my date, and my particular birthday and the year I was born, and to find out what is the Islamic date. So it was Rajab 5th. That's why I came up with Rajab 5th, right? We don't celebrate birthdays, neither the Gregorian birthday nor the Islamic birthday. That's not something we do anyway. But so Rajab 5th. Say Rajab 5th was the day that the person had the zakat, right? He reached the nisab. So every Rajab 5th he has to give zakat. So he's going to miss out on the deal. Which deal? The buy one get 699 free. So what should he do? Simple thing is, the first year when Rajab, then what comes after Rajab? Sha'ban, Ramadan. These are the months of the year, right? The Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal. Okay, so when you get to Ramadan, uh, then prepone, just change your date and give the zakat, even though it's not necessary. It's not been a year, yeah, but it's worth it. 1 year you give your zakat early. After 2 months, you still give your zakat. It's not been 12 months. It's been 2 months. Yes, we get it, but still give your zakat. Why? So you can artificially change your due date. Now that you give it in Ramadan, next year you can give it Ramadan rather than giving on Rajab 5th. Rajab 5th is not a sacred day. It may be the birthday of Minhajuddin, but has no value. So you can give your zakat in Ramadan every year by preponing it the first year. Okay. Moving forward to the next box, it makes no difference whether the wealth increases or decreases during the course of the year. I explained this, right? During the year, I give both scenarios. During the year, if the money increases, during the year means even up to one date before the due date. If it increases, you still have to give zakat. And if it decreases, like one date before it's due, you go down to zero. Or you dip down below the nisab, you don't have to give zakat. Okay? I'm pushing it to the extreme and giving you the extreme example. A person had $500,000 savings sitting in his bank, mashallah, wealthy guy. Whole year passed, but one day before his due date, he lost all his money. He doesn't have to give zakat because he has less than $4,800 on due date, right? So all the fluctuation throughout the year, just don't worry about it. The fact is, the calculation is so simple. You just look on the due date. That's it. Don't look before. Don't look after. That the simplicity of it is so much that people think that no, I didn't get it. I'm missing something. No, you're not missing anything. You're absolutely not missing anything. All you got to do is on the due date, look at what the savings are and give 2.5% of that. The next box is one lunar year later. Lunar year is, remember, is the Islamic year, because the solar year is slightly longer. There's a difference of a few days between the lunar year and the solar year. So the lunar year is shorter, and the zakat would be a wajib earlier than if you go with the solar date. If you possess the current nisab amount after deducting liabilities on that very same Islamic date, you must pay 2.5% of your wealth as zakat. Okay? After you deduct your liabilities, we'll talk about that. And this process will continue unless you have wealth equaling less than the nisab amount, all right, or all of one's wealth is lost. In that case, you will not have to give zakat. Okay, next slide. Zakatable assets. Which assets you have to give zakat on? You have to give zakat on gold and silver, right? Gold and silver means whether it's bullion in the form of coins, in the form of wafers or bricks, right? Or in the form of jewelry. And that jewelry, whether it's being used or just kept in the locker in the bank. What's it doing in the locker? Allah knows best, right? Okay. So anyway, whether it's in the locker or whether it's in the closet or whether it's in the jewelry box or whether it's being worn, daily wear, party wear, whatever, all the gold and silver is zakatable. All right. And if it's 24 carat, then there's a 24 carat value. If it's 22 carat or all the way to, even if it's less than 12 carat, less than 50% gold, right? Still you have to give zakat on it. Is the safer opinion. So gold and silver in any form. And when we say gold and silver, let me also mention what you don't have to give zakat on. There is no zakat on titanium, on platinum, on diamonds and rubies and emeralds. Diamonds and rubies, from the Sharia perspective, are stones. Like you go outside and you see, landscaping stones. All right, you don't have to give zakat on stones. So similarly, diamonds are just stones. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by saying that, but it is a stone. Even in English, it's known as a precious stone. And then you have semi-precious stones like rubies and emeralds, and then you have normal stones on the street. So there is no zakat on stones. And then you have cash. Cash means whether it's the form of like actual cash, notes and coins, or the cash in the bank. That is, the cash that is deposited in the bank accounts, any bank account, personal account, business account, then checking account, saving account, all the cash. Then you have business stock. Business stock is when you buy stocks, whether it's mutual funds, whether it's stocks. And business stock also includes anything you buy with the intention to sell. Anything you buy as an investment with intention to sell it and make a profit. So if you buy a land, right, this is a FAQ, frequently asked question. If you buy land and you intend to sell it, do you have to give zakat on it? If you buy it and your intention right when you buy it is to sell it and make a profit, you will have to give zakat on the entire value of that land once a year, okay? On the selling price, not the purchase price, the market price. So that would fall under business stock. However, if you buy a land to hold on to, and you construct houses on it, or there's houses that you buy and you are renting it out, then there is no zakat on that property. There will only be zakat on the rental income that is generated. And that rental income goes into the cash bucket anyway, goes into the bank account. So it's already taken care of. So there is no zakat on rental income. There is no zakat on rental property, only on the rental income. Then we have agricultural produce. There is zakat on that, but we're not going to talk about that because if they are farmers, then it is a respectable profession. That is a profession of the Ansar of Medina. They were farmers. I'm not trying to say anything negative about farmers, but we do not have. It's not generally in our area. We have very few farmers, and the zakat of that is more detailed. Particularly, the zakat of animals and livestock has a lot of detail and different calculations. So that is why, for the general audience, it would not be related to them. It would be not as beneficial for them. So we're not going to go into the details of that. And if anyone is in farming, has animals, livestock, they can reach out to us and they can send an email to questions@masjidds.org, questions@masjidds.org, and we can help them in calculating the zakat on their agricultural produce and their animals and livestock. But I did want to mention it here that there is zakat on those. We're going to cover in more detail the top three: gold, silver, cash, and business stock. Right. So non-zakatable items means all jewelry besides gold and silver, there's no zakat on. Cars and all vehicles, even if a person has his cars that he uses for daily driving, and then additional car he has, like a convertible sports car he uses only in the summer months, and then he puts it away in the winter. It's is additional car. There's no zakat on additional cars. There's no zakat on any vehicle. Properties which are bought with intention to hold on to, there's no zakat on it. Properties on lease, there's no zakat on it. Household appliances, electronic appliances, there's no zakat. Right? Okay, so there's no zakat on these items. Then gold, silver, and cash. Gold and silver for personal use, yes, zakatable. White gold, it's zakatable for the gold content in white gold because white gold actually has gold content. Gold plated is not zakatable. Cash in hand, bank, coins, notes, it's all zakatable. Okay. Zakat on business stock. Uh, Commodities refer to those items purchased with the intention of resale. Anything you buy with the intention of selling it, you have to give zakat on. So, for example, if there's, mashallah, big businessman, he has a Walmart without the haram products. He owns like a whole halal Walmart. Imagine a big store. You'll have to give zakat uh, on the entire store, all the retail price, based on the retail price of all the goods. Imagine, right? That is why traditionally the zakat of the businessmen have supported all of the needy people, because the businessmen, they make the most money, mashallah, and they also have the highest level of zakat. The only thing is, in case you're wondering, like, how in the world he's going to pay that, but if he owes money on it, then he can deduct the debt as well, right? So if he owes money, like if a person has a car lot, all the value of all the cars that he has on his lot that he's going to sell, he has to give zakat on the entire value of that, minus, though, he doesn't have to give zakat on the debts that he owes people for paying them for the cars. If he has paid off all the cars in full, then he'll have to give zakat on the entire amount of the value of all the cars in his car lot that he's selling. The car that you have in your home, in your garage, and the cars outside on your driveway, you're not selling them. There's no zakat on them, right? But this guy is selling cars, right? Maybe he's selling cars next to DarusSalam and car lot next door, the eyesore that everyone's saying we need to purchase that so that the masjid can be visible from North Avenue, and we can expand our parking. Maybe make dua. Inshallah, Allah Taala allows us by next Ramadan to purchase the car lot next to DarusSalam. Say Ameen. Maybe Allah will accept your dua. So anyway, then you have um, zakat is compulsory on one's business stock. We covered that. Zakat will be calculated according to the retail price of the goods. So this is for businessmen, right? Imagine somebody has a jewelry store. Allahu Akbar. So you go by and you look at all the beautiful sets, all the wedding sets, all the necklaces, but the owner of the store would have to calculate the value of all that gold and give zakat on it. If he has paid off everything, if he owes money on it, then he can deduct that as well. Okay. Zakat is not compulsory on real estate purchased with the intention to lease out. We covered this. One will add the value of gold, silver, cash, and the total value of goods and give 2.5% as zakat. You add up the gold, the silver, the cash, and we're going to cover this in the calculator. If there's a partnership, then every partner is responsible to dispense zakat of his percentage share. Okay? And you evaluate the finished goods at sale price, and unfinished goods will be evaluated with the market price. If there are businesses and partnerships, businessmen, they have further questions, we can take this offline, inshallah. So if there's a 50-50 business partnership, then both partners would have to dispense zakat of their 50% share of the business. Now, common transactions. Ijara in diminishing musharaka schemes. Like if you never heard of this, then it doesn't apply to you. These are specific Islamic finance models. Like guidance has a diminishing musharaka. That's a whole different ballgame to talk about what a diminishing musharaka is. But if you are buying a house, if you have bought a house through guidance, you would know what this diminishing musharaka is. In that case, your payments that you have to Guidance Financial Corporation are not considered as debt. They're not considered as debt. Therefore, no future payments can be deducted. If you go through the Murabaha model, then it would be considered as a debt. And if you have conventional mortgages on your home, it is haram to engage in that. But besides the fact that it's haram, from the zakat perspective, your monthly mortgage payment can be deducted as a debt. Your monthly mortgage payment can be deducted as a debt. Deposits. Money deposited for safekeeping or given to another party for guardianship is zakatable. So if you give money to somebody to safekeep or for guardianship, it's zakatable. You know where this plays a role? If there's a landlord and he has a tenant, and his tenant gave him a deposit of 1 month's rent of $1,500, does the landlord have to give zakat on that deposit, or does the tenant have to give zakat on that deposit? It's a good question. So the answer is, based on what we just read, the tenant would have to give zakat on the deposit, not the landlord. Even though the landlord is keeping it, he's keeping it. But whose money is it? If he's a good and safe tenant and doesn't harm the property, whose money is it at the end of the day? He's going to get it back. Now in real life, the landlord will find some problem, right, and say you did this and you did that and your kids broke this, and try to deduct money. But technically, it's still the money of the tenant. So the landlord will not have to give zakat on the deposit. The tenant will. Down payments. A purchaser is not the owner of the funds forwarded in a down payment. Okay. So if you give a down payment for something, you don't have to give zakat on that payment. The money given as a deposit in a down payment is not subject to zakat. If you have an insurance premium bill coming up, you don't have to give zakat on that. Okay. And if you receive benefits from the government, any credits, child benefits, any social security allowances, they will all be added to the assets, and you will have to give zakat on those. Okay. Now we're talking about debts, right? You can deduct debts. So there are different types of debts: dain qawi and dain da'if, strong debts and weak debts. So a strong debt is that you are more likely to receive the money back. Okay, it's a strong debt. So you would have to give zakat on it. So this is a debt arising from forwarding loans. If you forward a loan to somebody, or outstanding invoices that they owe you money, it's a account receivable. So they owe you money for purchasing something from you. So the creditor must pay zakat on the amount he has lent. Now, I want to explain something here. Sometimes the question might come that, okay, my friend, he had some need, he had a wedding in his family, and I give him $5,000 as a loan. All right. So who has the money right now? My friend has the money. Do I have the money? I don't have the money anymore. Why do I have to give zakat on the money I don't have? This is a valid question. Think about it though. You're not going to give zakat on it because you don't have it right now. And when it comes to the friend, when he's calculating his zakat worksheet, when he goes to the DarusSalam zakat calculator, he'll put in his assets and then he'll say, loans that I owe people. He say, oh, I owe my friend $5,000. So I'm going to deduct it. Is he going to give zakat on the 5,000? No, he's not. He's going to deduct it. Why he's not going to give zakat on it? He's not going to give zakat on it because I owe this money. So he doesn't give zakat on it because he owes it. He doesn't give zakat on it because he owes it, and you don't give zakat on it because you don't have it. Then no one gives zakat on it. The money can't escape the IRS. They catch you, somebody, right? So likewise, Allah Ta'ala is more powerful than the IRS. So Allah Ta'ala says that the one who owes the money, he's deducting it. So you can't the one who the money is owed to has to pay zakat on it because it's his money. He's going to get it, inshallah. So this is a strong debt. The creditor, the one who gave the money, has to pay zakat on the amount he has lent. It is best to add all the strong debt receivables to one's total assets and discharge the zakat yearly. What does it mean it's best? You can tell from the language that that's the best thing to do, but there's another option too, right? That's why he's using the word best. So the reason he's saying is best is because that's best practice. That's the best thing to do. However, if somebody says, I don't know, man, if that guy is going to ever pay me back. So you can, technically, it is permissible to hold on and not pay it until you actually get it back. At that point, you would have to give the zakat for the past years. Imagine that friend wasn't such a good friend after all, and he didn't pay you the $5,000 you gave him for his daughter's marriage until 10 years went by. Then what happened is, he did itikaf at DarusSalam, and he got khof-e khuda, and he got feared Allah Ta'ala, and he said, oh, I should pay off my debt. So now he comes to you 10 years later, and he says, here's the $5,000 you lent me. So, and now this person, the one who lent him the money, he can go back and pay the zakat 2.5% on the 5,000 for the past 10 years, right? It is permissible to do that as well. Wait until you get it. But then you have to do an extra note keeping of how many years have passed. And what's best is you just give it every year. Okay? That's the strong debt. Next slide is the weak debt. A weak debt is refers to receivables, money that's going to come back to you without an exchange of tangible goods. But you never sold anything to a person. You didn't give them any tangible goods. For example, employees' unpaid wages. If somebody owes you wages that you worked for them and they didn't pay you, or unpaid rental for a landlord. A tenant did not pay the rent and was eventually evicted, and they owe you money, but it's highly unlikely you're going to get that money, right? That's why it's a weak debt. Outstanding mahar, dowry payment. If there's a mahar owed to a woman, and it's not an exchange for any tangible good, so this is considered a weak debt. Outstanding bequest payment. If a person passed away and they bequested some money to someone and said that should be granted to so and so, and that person is going to receive that money, but he cannot go and demand it, right? He doesn't have anything to demand, so therefore this is also a weak debt. So the ruling is zakat will not be compulsory on a weak debt receivable until and unless one gets receipt of the asset. You don't have to give it until you receive it. And zakat will not be compulsory on such a debt for the previous years it was outstanding. So what's the difference in the ruling between the weak debt and the strong debt? The strong debt, you have to give the zakat for all the past years. All right? As I said in the example where a friend asked for $5,000 for his wedding, all right? Probably more like $50,000 he needs, or five. But anyway, he asked for $5,000 for his daughter's wedding, and you gave it to him. If he pays it back after 10 years, do you have to give zakat for the past 10 years? Yes. If there is a man who got married to his wife and he made the mahar $5,000, and he pays her mahar after 10 years, 10 years he didn't pay her mahar, and then he attended the Fiqh of marriage class at DarusSalam, and he learned, oh my God, I'm supposed to pay my mahar, and if I don't, it's sinful. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, أَن تَبْتَغُوا بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ. You have to give your wealth as husbands to your wives when you get married to them. This is the right of the wife to pay the mahar. And he learned all of that. He said, Toba, Toba, I have to pay my mahar. It's been 10 years since we were married. So he gives the mahar after 10 years. Does the wife have to pay zakat for the past 10 years? No, she does not. Why not? Because this is a weak debt. Okay? So that should be very clear now. Then you have the third debt, which is the bad debt. This is the last one. In case you're getting bored by these debts, this is the last one. Okay? So there's a strong one, the weak one, and the bad debt. The bad debt is bad news. Bad news. The guy is not wanting to pay back. So it could be two scenarios. The debtor acknowledges existence of the debt. He says, yeah, I know, I have to. Okay. By the way, the Rasulullah mentioned, Matalul ghaniyi dhulmun. If somebody has the money to pay back the debt but does not do so, this is dhulm. This is oppression. And this is haram. And وَالظُّلْمُ ظُلُمَاتٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. It will be a source of darkness on the day of judgment. Something to be aware of. If you owe somebody money, then let us pay them back. Rasulullah did not perform the janazah of the one who owed money. Right? Okay, anyway. Going back to the fiqh now. The debtor acknowledges the existence. Whether solvent or insolvent, whether he has money or does not have money. If he acknowledges the existence of the debt, yeah, I know about it, I know. Then the debt is not excluded from the creditor's zakat liability. Then the person who lent him the money has to give zakat on it because he's not denying it. However, even though he's acknowledging it, if he is unable to release his debt from his debtor despite his acknowledgement, it is not liable for zakat. If he says, yeah, I know, but then you force him, you twist his arm, not physically, but like figuratively, you're twisting his arm, you're reminding him, you're telling him, you're sending people after him, and he is not picking up your calls. Literally, when he sees your number, he blocked you. He literally blocked your call. So at this point, you don't have to give zakat anymore. That's a bad debt. And number two, if the debtor denies the existence of debt, if the debtor denies existence and it cannot be established, there's no proof, there's no write-up with witnesses and signatures, notarized, there is no debt document, then it is not subject to zakat. If you go up to him and he says, "You, I never saw you before. Who are you?" Or he says that, "Yeah, I know you, but you never gave me any money. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about." Right? This is called tajahul, to act like you're ignorant in Arabic. So he does that. He denies it. Then there's no zakat. You'll just say, "May Allah Ta'ala give you tawfiq to make tawbah," and astaghfirullah. Right? Okay. Um, then we come to debt liabilities. This is a big deal too, right? I'm saying the same thing about every slide. This is important. This is important. I'm kind of repeating myself. Okay, so uh, short-term debts and long-term debts. All right, let me explain the background of this. In the past, people would be afraid of taking debts. People did not want to take debts. They didn't want to be maqruz. They didn't want to be in debt to anyone. They wouldn't take loans unless extremely, extremely necessary. Extreme necessity would force them to take a debt from someone, to take a loan from someone, to be in debt to someone. So this is how the situation was. So that's why it was permissible to deduct that debt from their zakatable assets. If they have $5,000 in the bank, but they owe somebody $2,000, then they only have $3,000 left. They don't have to give zakat because they're below the nisab, right? Or let me give another example. If somebody has $10,000 in the bank, but he owes somebody $2,000, he can deduct the 2,000. He will have to give zakat on 8,000, all right? Because 8,000 is more than the nisab. Because he wants to pay the debt back, and he should pay it right away. But nowadays, the culture has changed, and the economy has changed, and the way people spend money and borrow money has changed, such that even if a person has like $200,000 savings in the bank, you will say, "Wow, that's a lot of money to have in a checking account." $200,000. Will he go and buy a house for $200,000? Oh my God, no, he won't. Why not? He can pay for it in cash, but he doesn't want to live in a $200,000 home. He's gonna go get a loan and live in $1 million home, right? He'll just pay the down payment and he'll get a loan. 30 years, he's okay. He's happy to be in debt for 30 years, 35 years. Why? People want to spend beyond their means. So so people are in debt. They have home debts, right? Home ownership debts, student loan debts. What else? Long-term debts, right? Car payments. You can buy a car. You can go to the used car lot dealer right next to DarusSalam and buy a used car. But you want to get the newest model, and you finance it because you pay it off monthly. So people have all these debts. So now, if you go back again, this is an example where you can appreciate how the fiqh evolves, right? The fiqh evolves with the times. So we gave one example already of instead of using the silver nisab, you can use the gold nisab. Another example of how the fiqh evolves is that instead of subtracting the entire debt, the scholars now say you can only subtract. The view that I give preference to, and many scholars give preference to, is you can only deduct the monthly bill, the monthly payment. Mufti Saab here, who made the PowerPoint, he said you can deduct 1 year's payment. That also is I would say it's not safe. Rather, you can deduct only the monthly payment. So what that means is, if you would allow people to deduct the entire payment, then vast majority of American Muslims would not have to give zakat at all, and they would all be eligible recipients of zakat. A person has, mashallah, nice $50,000 in the bank, $100,000 in the bank, $200,000 in the bank. If you tell him, "Brother, please give your zakat," he'll say no, because I'm $500,000, $1 million in debt. I'm in $600,000, $800,000 in debt. I owe more money than I have. I owe more money than I have. Therefore, I'm an eligible recipient. Give me zakat money. Why should I give zakat money? Astaghfirullah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's something inherently wrong with that, right? I'm sure everyone can appreciate that. So that's why we will say that you can only deduct the monthly payment. You'll tell the brother, "Look, you have your monthly mortgage bill, you have your monthly college loan bill payment, you have your monthly car payment, deduct that. and then the rest of the money you have, you give zakat on it. Because are you staying up at night, tossing and turning and worrying how are you going to pay off the whole balance? No. Are they demanding for you to pay off the whole balance this month? No. They only want you to pay the monthly payment. So that's the only debt that you have practically from the zakat perspective. So that's what this it tells you here. Short-term debts, these are liabilities which need to be paid off immediately. Then you can deduct the entire amount. Long-term debts, then I would say that you can only deduct the monthly payment. What the slide shows is that up to 1 year. This is also a fatwa, but less people will have to give zakat if you go with this fatwa, and it's safer to deduct only the monthly payment. Uh, okay. This debt liabilities, I already covered it. Deductible liabilities. If you have outstanding basic living expense, not future, you can't start deducting the future bills, the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 months, your utility bills. No, you can't do that. But rather incurred expenses which are due right now, and you haven't paid the utility bill for this month, the rent for this month, the credit card bill for this month, right? You can deduct those, number one. Number two are goods purchased on credit. You have taken the receipt of the goods, like in business, but you haven't paid for them yet, right? And fully intend to pay the debt. You can deduct that. All right. If you have salaries you owe people as a business owner, or any service fees you owe people, you can deduct that. And if you are going to pay the mahar this month, then the unpaid mahar, you can deduct that. You don't need to deduct it. I would just say give it, man. Give the mahar, and then it's not part of your assets anymore, rather than deducting it. What's the point of deducting it and then going to pay it right away? You have to pay it, so just get it over with. Okay, anyway, personal loans, loans that you have taken that are going to be repaid, you have to repay them. You can deduct that. And commercial loans, only 1 month, I would say, rather than 1 year. Okay, you can deduct that. I want to go quickly over this. Pension schemes. Okay, basically, there's two types of pensions. Uh, uh, Personal pension schemes. This is like 401ks, where you make the intention and to keep it aside. Then that is zakatable. And if they're final salary pensions, which are employer mandated and no choice from the employee, these are more and more rare now. They used to be more common. Employer mandated pension schemes where you don't have a choice. They just cut your salary and say, we'll give it to you afterwards. This is like back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It's way less nowadays. Those are not zakatable because you never had a choice. The employer, he just cut it and said, you're going to get it later after you retire. I'm not giving it to you now. So that's not zakatable until you get it. So, but most people don't have those pensions anymore. So what people do have is that 401ks. So 401ks is when the employee has a discretionary role in the contribution. You can determine how it is invested. So that is your money. You have to give zakat on that. Let me speak about 401ks for a moment. Is that a lot of people nowadays are confused about 401ks. They say, hey, you don't have possession of it. Look, it's your money. You chose to put it aside. It is being invested per your directions. And you are the only recipient of it, eligible to receive it, right? So you have to give zakat on it. How can you say you're not going to give zakat on it? All the scholars agree that there is zakat on 401k. The only thing is, some scholars, they say that if you choose to withdraw it, then how much taxes you're going to pay and how much penalty you're going to pay, you can deduct that. And what cash you would end up getting on hand, only that much is zakatable, 2.5%. And that's the view that I was mentioning myself in the past. However, I did more research on it, and it makes more sense, right? The other opinion, that you give zakat on the entire amount of the 401k. Why would you give zakat on the entire amount of the 401k? The reason is, did you pay the penalty? You didn't pay the penalty. The penalty is 20%. You didn't pay that. The tax is 40%. You didn't pay that. So the 60% that would have cut out, you never paid it. And what happened is the 100% of that fund was reinvested, and it grew the next year, and it grew the next year, and it grew the next year. It's all growing, and it's being reinvested every year. So finally, when you reach 60 years old and you take it out, you are getting the fruit of the investment of the entire amount over the past years. Was there any penalty taken out? No. Was there any tax taken out? No. So the entire amount, it makes sense, should be zakatable. And then a question follow comes on this is that, wow, alhamdulillah, mashallah, my 401k is ballooning. Not now anymore. Everything is going down. But for the sake of the example, right now with the coronavirus pandemic, and the stock market has crashed and everyone is hurting. But just say for the sake of the question, in the past, before the coronavirus, people used to ask, and inshallah in the future they will ask again. My 401k is booming. It's like $300,000, $400,000, and my cash at hand and my checking account, I have, mashallah, I'm earning money, but it's coming in. Where is it going? Going out. Coming in, going out. I don't even have that much savings. So if I calculate 2.5% of my 401k, it's a huge amount of money, and right, I don't even have, um, for every 100,000, it's 2,500. So if I have 200,000, it's 5,000, right? $5,000 in zakat. So I don't have $5,000. All right, I only have a couple $100, or couple, or $1,000, $2,000. I don't have $5,000 cash. So what should I do? How do I pay the zakat? Where am I going to get the 5,000 from? So in that case, you would say that you just have to calculate it, how much is due, keep it aside, and once you actually get the entire amount when it matures and you reach of age, whether it's 60 or 65, at that point you would give the zakat for the all the previous years. Okay. Okay. Now we come to what we could have mentioned in the beginning. Innamal a'malu bin niyat. Actions are based upon intentions. So you have to make the intention. Intention must be made at the time of giving zakat to a qualifying recipient, or to one's agent, or at the time of separating zakat's funds from one's total assets. So you can't just, for example, get excited on a virtual fundraiser and you donate a lot of money, and then afterwards you're like, hey, let me uh, go back and make that niyat as backtrack and make that niyat as zakat. No, at that time when you donated it, you never made the intention for zakat, so it can't be zakat. The niyat can't come afterwards. The niyat has to be there from before. Right when you give the money, you have to have the niyat of zakat. Or when you separate the funds, when you take the funds out and put it on the side, you made the niyat of zakat. Then when you give from that bucket, you don't have to have the niyat every time, as long as you had the niyat when you separated the money. Okay? And on paying zakat on behalf of spouse or children, if there's a spouse, for example, the wife, she has gold and jewelry, but she doesn't have cash. So does the husband have to give the zakat? Technically, no. If she has cash, she can give her own zakat from the cash. If she doesn't, then she can give it from the gold itself. Give a ring, give an earring, right? Whatever it may be. But normally the husbands, alhamdulillah, I'm sure they are considerate. They won't ask their wives that, why don't you sell an earring, right? That's not really nice to say. So unless, may Allah protect, such dire financial conditions come that they have to sell the jewelry, that's not considered like the worst thing, where the woman has to sell her gold, right? So the husband will discharge the zakat on behalf of the wife. That's what normally happens. Uh, in that case, the wife has to make the niyyah and ask the husband to discharge the zakat on my behalf. That's what is mentioned here. It is permissible to discharge somebody else's zakat from one's own wealth on condition one has approval and acknowledgement from the other party. Oh, going back to the children's accounts, on the college funds, if they become baligh, then it's necessary to give zakat. So they become baligh when there's, maybe a girl becomes baligh, she's 12, 13 years old. Or boy becomes baligh when he's 14 years old. So you have to have this conversation with them as the parents and say that you don't have to tell them the amount so that it doesn't get to their head and start feeling so arrogant. I have so much money, I'm rich, right? But rather you can just tell them The son, daughter, beta, beti, I have put some money aside in your name for your college education, and you are owner of that money. And as your guardian, do you give me permission to discharge the zakat on that wealth so I can do it on your behalf? And hopefully, if you made the proper tarbiyah, they'll say yes. They'll say yes. Jazakallahu Khairun. Thank you for fulfilling that responsibility, and we give you permission. Okay. If you don't ask them and you just discharge it without telling them, then it's their money, and zakat is wajib upon them because technically they're considered adult and they never made the niyyah. Innamal a'malu binniyat. Actions are based upon intentions. If you discharge the zakat of your wife's jewelry because you have the um, numbers from last year, and you know she didn't get any new jewelry during the year because you didn't buy her anything. So in that case, you just can't discharge it automatically. You have to ask the wife, "Can I discharge the zakat on your behalf?" And she has to give you the permission. Next slide is tamlik, transfer of ownership. Right? Um, I warned you guys in the beginning that there's a lot of technical stuff. You have to really pay attention. And it's I told you it's going to be long, right? So it's taking time. I know it's everyone's fasting. It's Sunday. People are tired. Want to take the afternoon nap. May Allah Ta'ala reward you for listening and paying attention. Um, so zakat will only be considered to be paid when tamlik is found, right? This is a FAQ. A lot of places tamlik is not found. Tamlik means transfer ownership from the zakat payer to the needy person. Tamlik will only take place with the following conditions. So the zakat money has to enter the possession of the needy recipient. So a lot of people, they want to play it safe, and when they're distributing or dispersing zakat funds, they don't want people to misuse the money. Like they give them zakat money and they go buy liquor or they go gamble with it. They want to avoid that. So what they do is they say that bring your eviction notice, we'll pay your landlord directly the zakat money. Bring your Nicor gas bill disconnection notice, then we'll pay your Nicor gas bill. So they're paying the zakat money directly to Nicor, directly to the landlord, and the money never enters the possession of the recipient, nor his representative. So in that case, the zakat will not be discharged. The money has to be given to the needy recipient or the representative of the needy recipient, and then the zakat only would be discharged. Now there's a whole detail on this about what it means, the representative, meaning the needy person can assign someone to accept the zakat money on their behalf. Then the zakat money would be discharged as well. Right? So it says here, the one who is transferring the zakat must be the zakat payer or the agent of the zakat payer, either the zakat payer himself or the child's agent, the father, or the wife's agent, the husband, etc. The transferee or the recipient has to be a natural living person. What it means living person, if somebody dies and you give them zakat money for their kafan, that's not permissible because the dead person cannot receive the zakat money. Right? You have to help them out through sadaqah to buy the kafan and burial shroud for the deceased person. It must be a natural living person entitled to receive zakat, right? Right, not a legal entity. Okay, the transfer must not be remuneration or consideration for services. It cannot be compensation for services. You can't find some poor laborers, ask them to, do some work and then give them zakat money. The transferee, the recipient, must acquire possession and become owners of the funds unconditionally. This is important for the zakat to be considered ada. And who are the recipients? This is an ayah mentioned in the Quran. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. Surah Tawbah, ayah number 60. So, poor needy people, they are eligible recipients. They are those who do not own any zakatable assets. They don't have zakatable assets nor surplus assets beyond their personal assets that equal the nisab. What does that mean? That means that they don't have the nisab. They don't have $4,800 in the bank. Okay? So how about if a person only has um, $3,000 in the bank? So he'll say, okay, he's less than the nisab. Can we give him zakat? You have to make sure that they do not have surplus assets as well. What if they have 2 homes, 3 homes, and they only have $3,000 in the bank? You will tell them that these additional homes that you have, these are called surplus assets. You should liquefy them. You should liquidate them. Sorry, liquidate them, and turn them into cash. Sell them, and have money. Why do you have these surplus assets? No, you cannot receive zakat as well. So that's why it says, those who do not own any zakatable assets nor surplus assets beyond their personal assets that equal the nisab. That is important. That is why surplus assets are underlined. Debtors, those individuals who owe more money than they have. Their liabilities exceed their zakatable and surplus assets. They owe more money than they have. That's a debtor. Maqrouz admi. Then travelers. Travelers, those who are in desperate situation, they have no access to their personal money. This used to be in the past. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Sorry. Where is that ayat? وَابْنِ السَّبِيل. This is called وَابْنِ السَّبِيل. The traveler. Because they didn't have, international monetary systems and financial systems where you can access your money from anywhere through your bank accounts, through ATMs, through credit cards, and travel checks. What else? Western Union. There's so many ways to access your money. So in the past, if somebody may have had wealth at home, but his money got stolen during the journey, so that person is technically a rich person, maybe a millionaire at home, but doesn't have access to his funds, so would be an eligible recipient. That's why Allah Ta'ala mentions Wabn Sabil. But it's very rare now for a person to be in such a situation where he has no access to his money that he has at home. Fi Sabilillah is particularly for Mujahideen, right? A lot of people abuse this Fi Sabilillah and say everything is Fi Sabilillah. You'll see this. No, Fi Sabilillah is specifically for Mujahideen Fi Sabilillah. Mu'allafatul Qulub does not apply anymore. Mu'allafatul Qulub was in the early days when Islam was beginning and the Muslim Ummah was young, that zakat money would be given to non-Muslims to soften their hearts towards Islam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave izzah to Islam, and this was later on abrogated. It's not applicable anymore. Zakat collectors who are working on behalf of the Islamic government appointed by the Khalifa and Amir al-Mu'mineen, they are given their salaries from the zakat. But that does not apply anymore too, because we do not have an Islamic Khilafat. So travelers doesn't apply, Fi Sabilillah doesn't apply, Mu'allafatul Qulub, zakat collectors. So what's left? Only the top two, poor and needy and debtors. Right? These are the people we can give zakat to. The following cannot receive zakat: general welfare projects, hospitals, madrasas, for construction, not for needy students. We're going to talk about the needy students, all right, at the end. Construction projects, the descendants of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family, the Banu Hashim. Allah has made the zakat haram on the Banu Hashim, so that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not be ever accused of trying to build a financial empire for his family. A rich person means the one who is in possession of nisab. You cannot give zakat to your wife or husband, to your spouse. You cannot give zakat to your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So simply put, going up, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, you cannot give zakat. Going down, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, you can't give zakat. And going across to your spouse, you can't give zakat. These are the relatives. Going up, down, and across. Besides them, all siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, everyone asks the same time a question all the time. I have some cousin in Pakistan. I have some sibling. I have this one uncle. Can you give zakat? Yes, you can give zakat. Do you have to tell them it's zakat? No, you don't have to tell them it's zakat. You can just give it as a gift if they are eligible recipients. You cannot give zakat to non-Muslims. Why not? Because they don't give zakat either. Think about it. Do the non-Muslims give zakat? No. So can they receive zakat? No. Zakat is given by whom? Muslims. And it can be received by Muslims. You cannot give it as to employees as compensation or to prisoners. Okay. The following cannot receive zakat. Now, One moment. Okay. There are certain questions I want to ask all of you now that you have learned your lesson. Right. So at the end we have some questions. Can you give zakat to a masjid just for the masjid expenses? What do you think? Right. Okay. No, right? If unless it's for, in our case, for needy students. Number two, does one pay zakat on jewelry if it is in use? What's the answer? We covered this. Oh, you can answer the questions on the YouTube channel. What do you think? Does one pay zakat on jewelry if it is in use? Right? MashaAllah. Yes. So, uh, zakat on jewelry, yes, there is zakat on jewelry if it's in use. Okay, next one. Does one pay zakat on rental property value? Rental property value. Question. So, rental property value, what do you think? There, we covered this, right? Yeah, there is no zakat. Sorry. There is no zakat on the value. It's only on the income generated. Remember, if you own property and you are renting it out, you don't have to give zakat. Only if you buy a property with the intention of resale, then you have to give zakat. So you buy a property and you're like, hey, I'm buying because the market's low and I want to sell this and I make, people always say, Karachi mein maine ek plot liya. Right? So stuff like that. So you buy a plot of land and then your intention is to sell it. You are not going to sit there and try to collect rent from somebody in Karachi. That's not going to work out because you live in Lombard, right? How are you going to collect rent from someone in Karachi? You just want to hold on to it and sell it. And then it's zakatable. But if you are renting it out, like you own a house right here in Addison, Glendale Heights, and Lombard or whatever, then you have to give zakat. You don't have to give zakat on the property. You give zakat on the rent. Is there zakat on 401ks? Yes or no? Is there zakat on 401ks? 401ks. Okay, right. There is zakat on 401ks. There is a detail here. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. If it's there's vested and unvested. So vested 401ks are, even if you leave the company and you choose to leave, you can get the money. Then the entire amount is zakatable. Unvested 401ks is that they want to hold you to work for their company for 5 years, 10 years more, and if you leave early, then you won't get the money. So that's called the unvested 401k. If you don't know what it is, then you don't have to worry about it because you don't have it properly. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. It applies to you. So the unvested 401ks, there is no zakat on it. Okay. Should one subtract the fees charged for withdrawing one's 401k? Both fatwas exist, but I believe the stronger opinion is that you should not subtract the fees. If someone is not liable for zakat, are they eligible for it? Okay. Yes. Yeah. So, Heart Plumber says debatable. Mashallah. Okay, that's a beautiful name, Heart Plumber. And Afshan Afzal says yes. And we have different answers coming in here. Talha Khan says yes. Zakir Qureshi, yes. Okay, so if someone is not liable for zakat, are they eligible for it? Heart Plumber is right. It's debatable. It depends, because I'll give you a scenario where you're not liable to pay zakat and you're still not eligible to receive it either. All right, and the scenario is if a person has like $3,000 savings. So do they have to pay zakat? No. Why don't they have to pay zakat? They don't have to pay zakat because they're below the Nisab of 4,800. So they don't have to pay zakat. That's simple. Are they eligible to receive it? They're not eligible to receive it. Why? Because they have 2 homes, 3 homes, or they have additional cars. They have surplus non-zakatable assets. They have surplus non-zakatable assets. A zakatable asset is below the nisab, the money. $4,800 is the nisab. They only have $3,000. So zakatable assets is below. But the non-zakatable surplus wealth is there. So if the guy has like a vacation home, right, in the islands, and he says that give me zakat, you'll say no. You need to sell that home. Now, practically speaking, the existence of such people are very rare, because why would they end up having so less cash and then have so much surplus non-zakatable assets? But technically and theoretically, it is possible for a person not liable to pay zakat and also not eligible to receive it. Most people who don't pay zakat are eligible to receive it. Okay. Next question. Can a person pay zakat on January 1st each year? January 1st each year. What do you say? So Talha Khan, no. Correct. Muhammad Khalid, no. You guys are paying attention. Muhammad Khalid, Talha Khan, mashallah, brothers. Okay. So yes, it sounds pretty good, right? It sounds pretty good. January 1st, you're doing it every year. But what's the problem? Everyone is saying, oh, Awad Noor said yes. Okay. Muhammad Nofal, yes. Right. No, it's not a matter of, yes, AJ, because we got to follow lunar year. You got it. The problem is January 1st is the solar year. You can't pay on the solar date. You have to pay on the lunar date. Right? It doesn't have to be technically in Ramadan, but it has to be a lunar date. That's the problem. So that's why paying zakat on January 1st each year is not going to work. You'll end up missing a zakat payment because it goes back like 15 days every year. Okay, next question. It's not just better, like Fun Time said, it's better to go with lunar year. It's not better to go with lunar year. It's actually mandatory to go with lunar year. You have to go with the lunar year, the Hijri year, because the Hijri year is less. What is it? Safiuddin Sharif mentioned it. You have to calculate Hijri year as less than solar year. Correct. That's right. Okay, next question. If a person has jewelry equal to Nisab but no cash, is she still eligible for zakat? Okay. I covered this in the presentation. I mentioned like a woman has jewelry which is equal to the Nisab, but she has no cash. Does she have to pay the zakat? Talha Khan, yes. Saima Amin, yes. OM, yes. Everyone. Muhammad Khalid, yes. Muhammad Sulaiman Mehdi, yes. Mubashir Ahmed, yes. Right. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. This is no trick question here. Yes, the zakat has to be paid. You can ask your husband to pay the zakat on your behalf, or you have to give some of the gold. Correct. Next question is very easy. Is it permissible to give zakat to one's siblings, your own blood brother and sister? Can you give zakat to your brother and sister? Some are saying yes, some are saying no. TM said no, everyone else said yes. Yes, yes, a lot of yes. Muhammad Khalid, AGR, Abdul Muhammad, Learn Islamic Finance. Oh, not eligible. Heart Plumber, yes. Okay, so we got a few no's, we got a few yeses. So, the right answer is, I remember which relatives you can't give. You can't give going up, down, and across, I said. Across is kind of ambiguous because it could include your siblings, right? Up means father, grandfather, grandmother, dada, dadi, nana, nani, any maternal, paternal grandparents, and up. Down means son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter. You can't give them zakat. And across means the spouse. Right? Are you closer to your spouse or your siblings? Tough question. Okay, so across means the spouse. You can't give zakat to your spouse. These three you can. But siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, you can give zakat. You can give zakat to siblings. All right. Now we're getting to the application. Okay, you guys, put your thinking caps on because the application starts from here. Assume nisab is $500. Okay. Okay. Wait. Okay, I'm going to take all the questions at the end, right? There's a lot of questions coming in. You can give zakat to father-in-law. Uh, um, okay, you can. I'm going to take all the questions at the end. All right. So assume nisab is $500. Um, Zaid has $499 in his bank. So does he have more than the nisab or less than the nisab? It's less than the nisab. A house worth $100,000 and a car worth $10,000. Is he liable to pay zakat? If yes, how much? If no, is he eligible to receive zakat? What's the answer? So the answer is, think about it. Zaid has $499, so he's less than nisab. He has a house worth 100,000, car worth 10,000. Does he have to pay zakat? Simple question answer, yes or no? The answer is no. The answer is no, correct. Safiuddin, Sharif, Ruqiyya, Muslihuddin, all these brothers, sisters, Farhan Far, okay. He does not is eligible to receive, correct. He does not have to pay zakat. Why not? Because he is under the nisab and his house and his car are considered necessary assets. Necessary assets. To have one house and to have one car for your needs. They are not surplus wealth. They are not surplus wealth. So this person is eligible to receive. He does not have to liquidate his house. You don't put him on the street. He does not have to liquidate his car because these are not surplus. These are the house that he lives in and the car that he drives to work. So he is allowed to have that, and he has less than the nisab. Does he have to pay zakat? No. Is he eligible to receive zakat? Yes. He is eligible to receive. Okay, that's the first Zaid. We should have changed the names here, right? Now we have another Zaid, right? So the second Zaid, let's go to this question, has $100 in his bank, right? Mufti Abrar, mashallah, came up with these questions. I want to give him the credit. Mufti Abrar Mirza of the American Fiqh Academy. Zaid has $100 in his bank, a house worth $100,000, and 2 vacation properties, each worth $50,000. Is he liable for zakat? If yes, how much? If no, is he eligible for zakat? So this brother here, what do you think? $100 only, man. So does he have the nisab? No. Does he have to give zakat on $100? You'll say no. And he has a house worth 100,000. That's his primary house, primary residence. But this guy has 2 vacation properties, each worth 50,000. So is he liable for zakat? No, he's not liable because he only has zakatable assets are only $100. Right? Is he eligible to receive? No, he's not eligible to receive. He should liquidate. This person, you are right. Zakir Qureshi, you are right. Right? So he is not liable to pay, not eligible to receive. No and no. Somebody who's this? Kashif Khan. No and no. You got it right. Not liable to pay, not eligible to receive. This is the example of the question that came earlier. Not liable to pay, not eligible to receive. Now we move forward. Okay. Zaid has $250 in the bank. Okay. And a house worth $100,000. Think about it. 250 in the bank, you already know it's less than the nisab. House worth 100,000, that's the primary residence. Rental property worth 50,000. Rental property worth 50,000. He has a total of $300 in rental income in addition to his bank balance. How much zakat will he pay? How much zakat will he pay? So 2.5% of what number? I'm giving a moment for you guys to calculate it. 250 in the bank, house worth 100,000, rental property worth 50,000, and 300 in rental income. All right. Okay, now we go over the answer. The answer Oh, we have interesting. Some people are saying zero, none, none. Some are saying yes. Some are saying, oh, somebody said 550. Who's that? Muhammad Khalid. Okay, there you go. 200 and 550 is the right answer, because $250 in the bank is below the nisab, right? So you don't have to give zakat on it. But you have additional 300 in rental income. So 300 plus 250 is what? 550. So and 550 is above the nisab. The nisab we assumed was 500. So there would be zakat on 550. Is there zakat on the rental property? No. Is there zakat on the house worth 100,000? No. Nor on the rental property worth 50,000. So the house 100,000, there's no zakat. The rental property worth 50,000, there is no zakat. But the 250 plus the 300, that $550 are zakatable because you have crossed the threshold of $500 nisab. And I think this is the last one, or one more slide. Okay. Zaid has $250 in the bank. Zaid has $250 in the bank, a house worth $100,000, one resale property worth $50,000, and one property for rent worth $75,000. How much zakat will he pay? Okay, think about this one. $250 in the bank, is that zakatable? Let's just go through it quickly now because it's getting late. $250 in the bank, do you have to give zakat on it? Hold on. Right now it's under the nisab, but it is zakatable. House worth $100,000, don't even count that because that's your living home, primary home. Resale property worth $50,000. Bingo. Resale property, you have to give zakat on it because you're going to sell it for profit. So 50,000 to 250 so far. One property for rent worth 75,000. Rent? No. The property for rent? No zakat on the 75,000. So how much zakat? You have to pay 2.5% of 50,000 250. 50,000 250. Oh, good. Muhammad Abdul Qadir, 2.5% of 50,000 250. You got it right. Talha Khan, 50,000 250. Priority physical therapy, got it. TM got it. Everyone's getting it now. All right. And we have just one or two more slides of questions. How about this? Zaid has $10,000 in the bank. Okay, $10,000 in the bank. Factory property worth 100,000. Machinery worth 50,000. Inventory worth 5,000. Wow, a lot of stuff going on. How much zakat should he pay? It's a mixture of zakatable and non-zakatable assets. $10,000 in the bank. What do you think? That's a no-brainer. Zakatable. Factory property worth 100,000. Non-zakatable. Machinery worth 50,000. Not zakatable. Inventory worth 5,000. Yes, zakatable. 10 plus 5, 15,000. Right. So 2.5% of 15,000. Zakat on 15,000. Talha Khan. Okay. Yeah, 15,000. 10 plus 5, 15,000. 10 plus 5, 15,000. 10,000 in the bank and 5,000 inventory. This is zakatable, 15,000. Next one. Zaid has $10,000 in the bank, $5,000 in his 401k. Okay. 2,500 contributed by him and 2,500 company match. Right. Machinery worth 20,000. Inventory worth 2,500. There's a $1,000 fine to withdraw the 401k at this time. How much zakat should he pay if the 401k is vested? What if it is unvested? Wow. So the $10,000 in the bank, what is that? That's zakatable. Now, the $5,000 in the 401k, if it's vested, then he has to pay zakat on the entire 5,000. If it's unvested, then he only has to pay zakat on his contribution, 2,500. That's the caveat here, just to give you the answer, because maybe I didn't explain it so well beforehand. So I don't want you to, get the wrong answer. When it comes to the 401k, if it's vested, you have to give zakat on the entire amount, right? 5,000. If it's unvested, you only give zakat on your contribution, not on the company match, because when you leave, you won't get that company match. Machinery worth 20,000, there's no zakat. All right. Inventory worth 2,500, there is zakat. And I would go with the fatwa of not deducting the fine. the fine to withdraw, not to deduct that. So what's the total now? How much zakat should he pay if the 401k is vested? So 10,000 plus 5,000 plus 2,500. 10,000 plus 5,000 is 15,000. 15,000 plus the inventory worth 2,500, 17,500. 17,500 if it is vested. If it is unvested, then you have 10,000 in the bank, 2,500 personal contribution, and 2,500 inventory. 2,500 is 5,000. 5,010 is 15,000. Right. MashaAllah. So the brothers and sisters are really working hard, and this is the last ultimate last slide. Okay. Wow, you've been following along. May Allah reward all of you. It's a really difficult subject. This is kind of funny. This one, giving you a hint. Zayd has $400 in the bank, and his wife has $40,000 in gold and silver. How much zakat must he pay? Or rather, instead of saying should he pay, must he pay? Okay. So some sisters asking, what does unvested mean? I mean, we covered it before, but it means that the company says that if you leave the job, then you won't get the money. Right. Okay. This last question: if Zayd only has $400 and his wife has $40,000 in gold and silver, how much must he pay? Tala Khan got it, none. Sayyid, none. Farhan Faruqi, none. Right, exactly. He doesn't have to pay anything because a husband and wife have to pay their own zakat. If he wants to be a good husband, then he can pay on behalf of his wife and help her out. But he does not have to pay anything. She has to pay her own zakat. He has to pay his own zakat. Everyone has their own book of deeds. With all due respect to the institution of marriage, everyone goes in their own graves, right? There is no king-size graves. Right? Everyone goes in their own grave, has their own Name Amal, own book of deeds. Okay. Then you have next one. Zainab has $10,000 in the bank. Gold that she wears worth 50,000. Wow. Silver that she does not wear worth 500. And diamonds worth 30,000. How much zakat should she pay? Last question. Last question. 10,000 in the bank. Does Zainab has to give zakat? Yes. Gold that she wears 50,000. Oh my God. Yes. The 50 plus 10 becomes 60. Silver she does not wear 500. Does she have to give zakat? Yes. Even though she doesn't wear the silver. She's wearing $50,000 worth of gold. Why does she want to wear silver? Right. So she has 10 plus 50 was 60. 60,500. 60,500. Diamonds worth 30,000. No zakat on the diamonds. So $60,500 she will have to give zakat. 60,500. Not 6,500, but 60,500. Sayyid Ali got it. Heart Plumber got it. You're right. MashaAllah. Okay, so question and answers. Has been happening. I just wanted to show you guys. I conclude with our zakat calculator, right? If you are kind of zoned out during the Q&A and you're like, okay, this is for other people who are interested. I'm interested in my own question. I don't need these scenarios. Now I would ask you all to pay attention to this last bit. This is the calculator. So on your screens, click this link, masjidds.org zakat calculator. Click it. I'm going to click it on my screen, and you have to click it on your screen. And it's a live link, right? This is where we're launching the actual calculator. So you hit it, and you hit allow. Okay. Now it's going to the website and opening the calculator. This is everything that we talked about, all in a, mashallah, in a calculator that will really help you. Okay. This zakat calculator, it says on top, has been designed by the Muftis of DarusSalam Seminary in consultation with other senior specialists in Fiqh. Please note that our zakat calculator does not account for livestock or farm produce. If your assets include livestock or farm produce, you can send us an email and we'll get the detailed calculations. Okay, and the next line is very important. We respect your privacy and neither collect nor save any personal financial information entered in this calculator. No one's going to save it and go after you, okay? On the side, it says pay your zakat. There's an ayah and the translation there. Okay, so the Nisab standard. You can select here gold or silver. I'm telling you, based on what Mufti al-Haq's fatwa in American Fiqh Academy, you're okay and safe with going with the gold standard. If you want to go with the silver, as the previous Muftis used to write and give fatwa, then that's fine too. It'll be much lower, $300 versus $4,800. And I wrote in the note underneath here, the Nisab the Prophet ﷺ established was 20 gold dinars or 200 silver dirhams. The scholars have given fatwas regarding the permissibility of using either one. Depending upon which standard you use, your Nisab threshold will be higher or lower. Okay, so I'm going to go with the gold standard. Then cash on hand, you enter the cash on hand in dollars. Okay, balance held in bank accounts, you go under your mattress, count all the cash, put it in the cash on hand, right? Then the black money, right? Astaghfirullah. Okay, anyway, then you have, no one has cash, I know that. Who has cash nowadays? Everything is in the bank. Next one, balance held in bank accounts, right? Checking accounts, saving accounts, business accounts, you enter that. Okay, next one, resale value of shares, stocks and mutual funds, right? The resale value, you enter that, not the value you bought it, right? If it went down, so be it. If it went up, so be it. You put the resale value. Next one, resale investment property, right? If you bought a property with the intention of selling it, that's the resale investment property. You put that. Then you have retirement plans, vested 401k in IRAs. Vested 401k in IRAs, individual retirement accounts. You put that. Business inventory, the wholesale value, you enter that. Gold and silver jewelry at current value, and gold and silver bullion, right? Whether they're coins or they're jewelry, you enter those. And debts that are owed to you, money lent to others, right? The strong debts that we talked about, you enter that. And if you sold items in your business and people owe you money, that's accounts receivable. Business people know what that is. If you don't know what accounts receivable are, then you probably don't have it. Accounts receivable is when people owe you money. That is your total assets. Okay, simple as that. Then move forward, liabilities. What are short-term debts? Money you actually owe the entire amount to your friend. You put that there. Next one, long-term debts. I put here in brackets, 1 month mortgage payment, 1 month car payment, 1 month student loan payment, etc. Just the monthly payment for the long-term debts. You enter that. Then you have incurred expenses for the current month. Incurred expenses, like it's not future, okay? Make sure it's not future. The rent you owe this month, the utilities, credit card bills, etc. You enter that. Wages that you owe other people, personal or business, you enter that. These are your liabilities, total liabilities. Then you have your total zakatable amount. Well, how is the total zakatable amount computed? It takes your total assets minus the liabilities. That'll automatically give you, in the back end, the calculator will give you your total zakatable amount. The Nisab here, the gold standard, is $4,789.53. It says in the explanation, zakat will only be farad if the total zakatable amount reaches the Nisab stipulated by our Prophet ﷺ or exceeds it. The value given above is based on the gold price as of today, 5/3/2020. Currently, since it's all zero, it says your zakat, you are not obligated to pay zakat. Otherwise, inshallah, most of us, I make dua that you would be obligated to pay something because you would be in a good financial condition. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. We started at around 2 o'clock. It's been 2 full hours and a few minutes, but we have reached the end of the journey, and may Allah reward you. I come to the conclusion, Subhanallah, and I'm going to unashamedly have to make this pitch because it's necessary. We actually are in urgent need also of, if not your entire zakat, if not your entire zakat, then a portion of your zakat. Um, and um, we have needy students from 26 different states that are here, and this is what it mentions on the bottom. If you paid DarusSalam zakat, I can assure you the following: that your zakat donation will only be used for poor indigent students of sacred knowledge and individuals who are eligible for zakat. Because we're teaching the fiqh of zakat, why would we not practice it ourselves, right? Not only will you discharge your farad obligation of zakat, you will additionally receive the reward for sponsoring Islamic scholarship in America during this time of corruption and mass ignorance. There's so much jahala, there's so much ignorance, and you'll get the reward of sponsoring Islamic education. And you can rest assured that is reaching the eligible recipients. Please don't just drop the call. Just bear with me till the end. This is really important. We do not use zakat funds for acquisition, renovation, or maintenance of our physical infrastructure, salaries, administrative expenses, or other non-eligible expenses. This is what we're teaching and preaching. This is what we're practicing. We take this responsibility seriously as we are answerable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one very important, those who stayed will get this point, and those who left will miss it. That if you wish to pay by credit card, you will have to add 3% to cover the credit card processing fees. Right? Make sure you note that down. If you're paying by credit card, you have to add 3% because Visa, MasterCard, they're not zakat eligible. You can't give them zakat money. And if you're sending via Zelle or Chase Quick Pay, then you don't have to worry about that. You can send it to zakat@masjidds.org. This was created specifically for zakat funds, and it goes to the zakat account. And due to the COVID-19 crisis, many families are unable to pay for their children's education. They aren't able to pay the tuition. Several thousands of dollars per month has dropped after the COVID-19 crisis started, after the pandemic started. So we urgently need to raise scholarships for 70 students. And for what? What's the magnitude? It is about $8,000 a year tuition, $3,600 a year for their housing, and $3,300 a year for their food and books, so they can continue to study. So that is why I strongly urge you, I really, really strongly urge you to pay some portion of your zakat, if not all of it. If you want to give all of it, may Allah give you barakah. It'll go towards the students of knowledge. And if you give a portion of it, that is fine as well. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned, and Abdullah bin Masud radiallahu anhu has mentioned, that become a scholar, kuna aliman, or muta'alliman, if not possible, become a full-time student, or mustami'an, or if not possible, become a part-time student, or muhibban, if not possible, then become a supporter of students of knowledge. But do not be in any fifth category, right? The tuition is $8,000 a year, housing is $3,600, meal plan is $3,300. So please discharge your zakat, and if you trust DarusSalam scholarship, and I believe so, your actions speak louder than your words. You stayed so long. This is not an average crowd who's listening. This is a very dedicated group of individuals. The brothers and sisters who have been through this 2 hours with me, almost 2 hours and 11 minutes now, and you are very special, and you are very concerned about the hereafter. And you do not want to be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for not discharging your zakat. And another masala, the masail and the issues can continue on. There's so many masail. Another masala is it permissible to get the deduction on your taxes if you pay your zakat? And the fatwa is that it is permissible. DarusSalam is also a 501c3 tax deductible or organization, and your money will go to needy students. So you can rest assured and be confident that it will be spent properly by those who teach the fiqh of zakat. Over here at DarusSalam, we actually teach the alim course. We teach mufti. We have muftis teaching here, and who know how to spend the zakat money correctly. And unfortunately, many places, the zakat money, which is a pillar of the deen, is not being spent correctly. So I really wanted to make this important pitch. I hope you are not offended by that. It is the need that we have. Now I have to go back and I want, if you can encourage people by posting your pledges on the chat. This will be really inspiring for me and for all of us here. It will be highly encouraging, and it will be inspiring for others as well. And you can lead the way by pledging, to become a guardian of Islamic knowledge for 8,000, a sustainer for 4,000, or a supporter for 2,000. So please post your pledges. Allah Ta'ala says, يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيًا. Those who give secretly and openly. And when there's an open call, then we should give openly. We should give openly, inshallah. Okay. Now, let me go back and look at the questions. A lot of questions. I really feel sorry for those who have been patiently waiting from the beginning. So I want to officially dismiss everyone who does not have a particular question. Of course, you are welcome to stay, but I have covered the majority of the information I wanted to. I want to honor those brothers and sisters who ask questions by taking some time to see how many I can answer to the best of my ability. Okay, so we have a question here on the that came on the phone, right? I'm going with the phone questions first. 630, the texted questions. So it says here, wow, there's a number of questions that this person has asked. These are all questions. Okay, so there's one question about mutual funds. So that question is not very clear. If you can rephrase that. This is the question that came from 630 from one of the numbers. Okay, I don't want to mention the number online. I just was reminded. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Okay, so there was a question that came in. If you know who you are. If you asked a question about the mutual funds, please rephrase that question. Next question was, is taking taxes and penalties out from 401k to calculate zakat reasonable, even though we are not cashing the 401k? Exactly. This has been answered. You should not take out the taxes and penalties. You should not take out the taxes and penalties because you're not cashing the 401k. The entire amount is being reinvested. My spouse and I have a joint account where the income pulls in. Can either one of us pay the total zakat, or we have to ask for permission to use his or her savings? Either one can take permission for the other one and pay the zakat for the entire amount. But you should inform each other. All right. Those who don't have any questions, by the way, I told you can go because I was feeling sorry. But at the same time, if you stick around, you will learn a lot because the Q&A session is really beautiful. In fact, we have a dedicated Q&A session we used to have every day in Ramadan in itikaf time in the mornings, just Q&A. Okay. The liabilities have to be on the date when zakat is calculated and not any bill that comes the next day and in the same month of Ramadan. No, you can deduct bills for the whole month. We covered this. You can deduct bills for the whole month. It doesn't have to be due that date, but it could be due within the month that you're discharging your zakat. There's another question about 401k from another phone number. This has been texted to the Masjid. Assalamu alaikum. Do we pay zakat on 401k retirement accounts if the intention is not to touch it till retirement, and pay zakat at the time we start accessing it? If we do need to pay zakat on retirement, and if it's vested, how much do we do that? We covered this, right? So you have to give zakat on the entire amount of the 401k. even if you're not intending to touch it. If you do not have enough cash, you can give it when you touch it, when you get it, then you can give it for the past years. Um, does giving it hidden more virtuous? Discharge, yes, it's more virtuous if you are trying to hide the identity of the recipient. But if it's a public cause, then you can give it publicly. Assalamu alaikum. The next question is, what if we can narrow when we became Sahib Nisab, a person owning of Nisab, into a 2-month window last year? So you should go with the first date of that 2-month window and discharge the zakat to be safe. Go with the first date of the 2-month window. Next question. This brother or sister is asking, I was calculating my zakat, and on the day that my zakat is due, the total amount in my accounts was less than what I owed. All right. Largely because I had been out of an income for some time and high credit of sadaqah on my credit card bills. Due ironically to high amount of regular sadaqah I continue to give. Subhanallah. Does this really mean that I do not owe zakat and am in fact zakat eligible? Yeah, that's true. You don't have to give zakat and you are zakat eligible. It doesn't mean you need to take zakat money if you're going to earn soon, inshallah. And the only thing is you have to be deducting the monthly payment of long-term debts. Maybe you're deducting the entire amount of all the long-term debts, and that's why you're coming up with that number. Okay? Okay. Can loans taken against 401k and which are being paid monthly be deducted for calculating zakat? So this is when you're paying back to yourself. You can't deduct that. If you take a loan from your 401k, you're paying back to yourself. So that cannot be deducted. Okay. Okay. This is I'm going back now to the first question that was asked. I had so if you had asked a question way in the beginning, I'm going back to you. Zakat question. I had $10,000 in my checking account in 2019, and I paid zakat for it last year. And this year I have additional 10,000 in my account. So do I have to pay zakat on 20,000, or on just the additional 10,000 that I saved from last year till today? No, no, no. Please let me know. This is a big confusion. Zakat is not on income, like taxes on income tax. No, zakat is on savings. Zakat is on savings. So that's why if there's a business that had like net loss, they have no income, negative income, they might still have to give zakat because they have savings. Right? So zakat is on savings, not on income. Okay. Next question. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Wa alaikum salam. I am paying zakat on monthly basis. So how do I need to calculate and pay now? Monthly basis, yes, you can. If it is sometimes for some people, it's difficult to pay a lump sum of zakat when it's due. They don't have that much money, or it's hard for them to discharge the zakat at lump sum. So they can divide it up and pay it monthly as well. It's better to pay for the zakat that's due in the coming year and you pay in advance monthly. And then when the zakat date comes, you go back and check how much you paid. If you paid more than your zakat that is due, that's great. If you paid less, then you pay the balance. It's better to pay, if you're paying monthly, it's better to pay beforehand in advance rather than paying afterwards. Like after the zakat day is due, then the following 12 months you divide it up and pay it. That's less preferable. But it is possible to do it monthly. This is another question, mashallah. Zakat related question. Number one, I have a lot of extravagant clothes that I bought. I'm making dua to get rid of my clothes obsession. May Allah make it easy for you, and may Allah make it easy for your husband. Okay, it happens, but I appreciate your honesty, and you have such a mashallah desire to overcome your clothes obsession. Allah Ta'ala will accept your dua in Ramadan. Why not? We all make dua for you. Inshallah, should I give zakat on my clothes since I have more than I needed? No. Even though you have more than you need clothes and you feel that way, it's extravagant, uh, still, you do not have to give zakat on your clothes. If someone's husband is not interested in giving zakat on gold jewelry, does the woman have to give it even if she does not earn a living in US, but it's hard to even sell gold jewelry? Please advise. Oh my God, this is very sad. If the husband should try to help his wife out and give zakat for her gold, I would recommend that. But if not possible, if the husband is not interested, then she would have to give 2.5%. So basically, you take the smallest gold item and you sell it and discharge the zakat. And after you discharge the zakat, the extra remainder of the proceeds from that sale, you can keep it. Like if your zakat, for example, is your zakat comes out to say $200, $300, and you sell an item of jewelry that costs $1,000. So you can keep the $700 and give the $300 in zakat. Okay. Next question. I don't understand how to ensure you give your zakat during Ramadan. Can you explain this one more time, please? How to ensure you give your zakat during Ramadan is that the first year that you become Sahib Nisab, if it's outside of Ramadan, you give advanced zakat in Ramadan, even though a year has not passed. Like in the example I gave, zakat became farad in Rajab. So instead of waiting till the next Rajab, when Sha'ban and Ramadan comes, 2 months later, you give your zakat in Ramadan in advance. Then the next year, you can give your zakat in Ramadan. And every year moving forward, you give your zakat in Ramadan. That's what I was explaining. I hope that is clear. So there's a question about a camel herd. They have a share in that, and they get raw camel milk shipped to our place from Michigan farm. So I would recommend you to email this to questions@masjidds.org, so we can go over the zakat of the camels. Right? The zakat of camels is more complicated. Okay. Okay, if someone purchases a house with the intention to sell, so the camel, I'm not avoiding it. I'm saying the camel question. Please send the question to, email the question to questions@masjidds.org. Questions@masjidds.org. Then you'll get the answer for the camel question. Next question: if someone purchases a house with the intention to sell, but circumstances changed, so I had to keep as a rental owner occupied house, which category for zakat calculation would it fall under? If you change your intention, okay, this is, I read a fatwa on this, so I'm going to give you the detailed answer. Look, if you purchase a house with the intention to sell, it's zakatable initially. Then circumstances changed, so you had to keep a rental owner, a rental occupied house. If you are temporarily having somebody rent it, but your intention is still to sell it, then it will remain zakatable. Because in the interim, you're just getting rent instead of keeping it empty. But if you completely change your mind, you're not going to sell it anymore at all, and you want to just keep it as a rental property, then it's not zakatable. That's the answer. Again, if you purchase the property with the intention to sell, it's a resale property, and you have that intention in the back of your mind, temporarily, instead of just keeping it vacant, you allow someone to rent it, it's still zakatable. You have to pay zakat on the value. But if you completely change your intention and don't want to sell it anymore and you want to just hold on to it, then it's not zakatable. Next question. Um, for a business, if the inventory is purchased with loans from investors or as a debt, then is it used as wealth for zakat calculation or actually deducted as debt? Keep it both separate. Calculate all your inventory and put it down, and calculate all your debts and put it down and deduct it. If the inventory value is more than the debts, you'll have to pay zakat. If it's less than the debts, you don't have to pay zakat. That's simple. Um, if someone question is someone earning is $5,000 a month, but he does not have any assets, savings or anything, is he eligible for zakat? Meaning, honestly, if he's spending all of it and on his family and his needs, he has no savings. His savings are less than the nisab, $4,800, and he does not have surplus property, surplus cars, right? Only has a house to live in and a car. So then that person would be eligible to receive. Correct. Plus, he has loan of 15,000, which he's trying to pay on a monthly basis. So can we pay his loan through our zakat? You can pay the money to him to pay off his loan. Don't pay the loan directly. Pay the person in debt, uh, and he can pay off his loan. His rent is $1,900, bills are $300, house expense 1,000, left money paying back. Oh, forgot to mention he just has one car value of 4,000. Yes, it's fine. He would be eligible to receive zakat. Okay, there's another question here. I'm updating my question based on clarification by Mufti Minhaj. My question is that I have a piece of land as investment, okay, and no revenue is generated out of it, but value increases every year. And the initial intention was to buy it and keep it for a long-term investment, which is like 5 to 15 years. Do I have to pay zakat on it? Yeah, you want to keep it as a long-term investment, but then you want to sell it, right? After 5 to 15 years, what do you want to do? You want to sell it at a higher price. So of course it will be zakatable. Okay? The value of it will be zakatable every year. Why? Because you bought it with intention to wait for it to appreciate and sell it. That's exactly what investment resale property is called. That's exactly what it is. It would be zakatable. Another question is, I have a family member whose wife has a lot of assets in gold, but husband does not have anything, nor does she share with him. Subhanallah. And the husband does not want to work. Oh, that's not good. Is he zakat eligible? Thanks. Um, right. Wife has a lot of assets in gold. Wife is independent. Husband is independent. If the husband doesn't have anything, then you can give the husband zakat money. If he does not have a nisab, the husband, you can give the husband zakat money. Another hint for people is that, especially with relatives, if the father has some savings, the mother has some gold, you cannot give them money, but they're really hand to mouth and they're poor, but technically they have nisab, then you can give the money with the intention of the children if they're baligh, because the children, they would be considered independent as soon as they become baligh. They would be a eligible recipient. If they're not baligh, if they're minors, then they're dependents of their parents. They would not be eligible. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Okay, another question. Now that I'm getting more information about zakat, mashallah, mubarak, do I need to pay back for the years I missed? Yes. And it is difficult to calculate. Try your best. Try your best to calculate for the past years, and you would have to give for the past. Okay. Can you please explain why zakat is to be paid on the sale price of inventory of a business rather than the cost price? Yeah. So basically, when you have an inventory, when we are selling it, it's going to be we're going to get that cash in hand, right? When we sell it, so that is why the scholars give fatwa that when you have inventory, you have to pay the zakat on the sale price, because the sale price is the money you're going to get when you sell it. You're not going to get the cost price, you're going to get the sale price, which is the cost price plus the profit. So the profit is zakatable as well. Okay, subhanAllah, this is a detailed question. If you own shares of a privately owned company with an agreed valuation based on third-party investment, can you calculate your zakat liability based on the value of your privately held shares? Or would one need to calculate zakat owed in a more specific manner using inventory and accounts receivable? So basically, if you're holding on to the shares, this is different from stocks, because in stocks you just buy and sell it, right? But if you are holding onto a shares of a privately owned company and you want to continue to hold on to those shares and um, just derive benefit from the dividends, then you would have to give zakat. The value of the company includes the brick and mortar, the property, the non-zakatable assets, machinery. There's no zakat on all of that. The only zakat you would have to give is on the inventory portion of the value of the company and accounts receivable, and if there's any cash that the company has. So you have to figure that out. How much of the value of the company is actually inventory value, accounts receivable, and cash in the account of the business. That percentage is zakatable. And if there's value of the company in other things, in property, in fixed assets, that is not zakatable. That would be the answer to that question. Assalamu alaikum. How can I calculate gold value per gram? That is simple. You just Google it, the gold value today, price of gold today, gold price, and Google will give it to you. There's many different websites that have it as well. Okay, that was a simple one. How much due diligence do we need to do in making sure the person is zakat eligible when the person is a relative? Yes, that's a very sensitive one, but you have to do due diligence. And I told you a safe way is that if you give it to the children, because most of the time these children, they don't have college funds in their names. They're basically living hand to mouth. So you can give it to the children because unless the children have gold in their name. Maybe you give it to the boy. The boy wouldn't have gold maybe. Wallahu alam. But you have to do due diligence. This is an interesting question. I need to look into this. What exactly, how it works, the health savings account. So I don't want to ignore this question. Maybe you can send this question to questions@masjidds.org. Questions@masjidds.org. So we can look further into how the health savings account HSA works. All right, to determine if it's zakatable or not. I don't want to answer without doing the proper research on that one. The question is, do you have to pay zakat on 529 or education funds for children that can only be used for education and expenses? If so, on what amount should it be calculated? Yes, zakat has to be paid on education funds for children, even though it's going to be used for education. Like if you save money for future expenses, you save money for a wedding, you're going to spend it on the wedding, but you haven't spent it yet. So while you still have it in your possession, you have to give zakat on it. You save money for education, you have to give zakat on it. So 2.5%. And if it's in the name of the children have to give the zakat. And they have to make the intention. Okay? So that's the answer about the 529 or education funds. If someone has two plots, right? One plot is for to build a house, and the other one is to sell and use the money for construction of a house. Does he have to pay the zakat? Someone has two plots. One plot is to build a house. If this is a house, what are you going to do with the house? You didn't define. Are you going to live in the house, or are you going to sell the house for profit, or are you going to use it for rent? So I cannot answer. If the purpose of the house is to live in, there's no zakat on that plot. If you're going to keep it for renting it out, there's no zakat on it. If you're going to sell it for profit, there is zakat on it. And the other one is to sell and use the money. The other one is to sell the house, the lot that you're planning to sell. Definitely, there's zakat on it. Even if you're going to potentially use the money for construction of a home, still you would have to give zakat on the lot that you are selling. The lot that you are selling, you have to give zakat on it. What is meant by short-term debts? Short-term debts are when you borrow $5,000 from your friend, $2,000, $1,000, and you have to pay the entire amount back. There's no, you don't have a 30-year plan or something like that. There's no monthly payment. You have to owe the entire amount is due. That's a short-term debt. Can you explain further or give some of tips about how to estimate past years of unpaid zakat if one did not pay previously? You would have to basically see if you have, you know, in your bank statements. Basically, go back through your bank statements. Ask your banker if he can go back and give you the history of your bank statements. It goes 7 years back, mashallah. I have a lawyer here with me, director of operations. He's telling me it goes 7 years back, Brother Usman. So I didn't know that. I learned something new as well. So you can get the information for 7 years back, mashallah. So that's a good step forward. And you can figure out on your due date how much was your bank balance and give 2.5% of that. I bought a veterinary clinic, okay, mashallah, Mubarak, last year, taking care of all the animals and making monthly payments for 7 years. Okay, will I deduct only 1 month's payment as debt? 1 month's payment is fine. Just deduct 1 month's payment. I got PPP loan and EIDL loan in my account this month of Ramadan. I'm calculating my zakat. Will I count these loan payments as zakat payable? Yes, since you got the money, you would have to give zakat on it. I sell medicines to clients. Will I count zakat on selling price? Yes, on selling price. So, mashallah, the brother came back that he has 2 plots. One plot is to build a home. He's going to live in it. That plot, there's no zakat on it. Other one is to sell and use the money. That plot, there will be zakat on it. Okay? That's clarified now. Do we have to pay zakat on the money received from the coronavirus stimulus bill and what we received back in taxes? Yes, you have to pay zakat on that. Also, when you talk about cash on hand, bank account balance, does that mean outside of what is being planned on being used for bills or as is? Whatever is being used for bills that month can be deducted. Whatever is being used for bills that month can be deducted. Okay. Subhanallah. I think it's going to be very difficult for me to go back to the YouTube chat. So if you have any questions, as has been mentioned, just text it because I'll have one medium, right? Because on the YouTube chat, we had the Q&A going on. We had all kinds of comments, and I'm gonna have to sift through them and find the questions. Right now, the chat, the text message is dedicated to questions. Is much easier. Okay, the 401k has mutual funds that I have no control, and some of them have some bank stocks. Bank stocks, we should not invest in banks to begin with because that's haram, right? Because they make their income through interest. Financial companies, about 5 to 15%. How do we establish zakat as banks and any increases on it is not permitted? Yeah, there is no zakat on income from haram because you don't give 2.5% of the haram income, you give 100% of it. So you have to figure out how much of the income is from the haram and give 100% of that away. Yes, somebody asked a question that Quick Pay and Zelle has a limit. Can I drop off the check at Masjid DarusSalam for the students? For somebody who wants to sponsor the needy students of knowledge? Yes, you can drop the check at the Masjid, and you can just text us when you would like to stop by, and you can also put it in the locked mailbox on North Avenue. Okay. Um, Another question is, do we pay zakat on full amount from rental property or what is left after paying expenses like insurance, utilities, etc.? See, the thing is, you're already paying the insurance, you're already paying the utilities, so it's gone. And whatever is coming is being saved. So you just have to give it on the saving that you have. If you have a bill like insurance or utility this month, current month that you're discharging zakat, you can deduct that. But what you will future pay in insurance, what are your future pay in bills, you cannot deduct that. Okay? So you're allowed to deduct the utilities and the insurance that is coming in that month. Can I pay more zakat than my calculated one? Yes, it's permissible as long as you have a belief that 2.5% is farad and the rest is sadaqah. Right? Um, Prisoners are mentioned in Surah Tawbah, but your slide said zakat cannot be given to prisoners. Please clarify. No, prisoner in Surah Tawbah, the ayat is talking about slaves. It does not mention prisoners. The ayat is إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل. It does not mention prisoners. You can check the translation of the ayah. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm going. See, these questions kept on coming in different orders. I'm trying to go through them to see if there's any that I missed. I don't see any new questions. One moment. Oh, there's some questions down here. Wait. These are, I think, asked the new questions, fresh questions I got, but there's some old questions here. Uh, we have some land in Pakistan, but the person who promised to buy it for us, he is not transferring it to our name. Inna lillah. Do we still have to pay zakat for that land? We paid in cash several years ago, and now the price is 3 times what we paid him. What is the Sharia hukum about paying zakat for that land? Okay, if it's not transferred in your name, then um, you don't own the land, right? Legally, you don't own it, and he's denying it. He's not transferring it. So this is a bad. It's like money was given to him and is lost. So you would not have to pay zakat on that. And I'm very sorry about this tragic situation for you. We make dua, Allah Ta'ala gives the person tawfiq to fear Allah and transfer the property to your name. That's really sad. That's really bad. Okay. So, okay, there's some new questions. For gold in different compositions, do we calculate zakat based on price of that particular composition or based on 24 karat? For example, I have some gold jewelry in 22 carats. Could I calculate zakat based on price of 22 carat? Very good question. Yes, you would calculate the zakat based on 22 carat, 21 carat, 18 carat, 14 carat, whatever carat. You don't have to consider them all 24 carat. No, you have the right to calculate it down to the real carat value. Next question. If I go by deducting the penalty, how much percentage should I deduct from the actual 401k amount? First of all, I don't think you should deduct the penalty, but if you go with that fatwa, then you have to ask your HR in your company how much the penalty would be. Figure that out. That's an accounting issue. And how much the penalty would be and how much the tax would be, you can deduct that. I'm renting my house and my clinic. Can I deduct rent? Yes, you can deduct the monthly rent. We covered that. You can deduct the monthly rent. It's on the calculator as well. If I have rental income and part of it is invested for renovations, how is that factored? So if you already invested it, then it's gone out. It's not going to be in your bank anymore. And if you're planning to invest it later, then you cannot deduct that. If you're going to invest it this month, if it's a bill you owe somebody for something you already bought, then you can deduct it. So you cannot deduct planned renovations in the future. You cannot deduct that. Cannot. Right. Please clarify zakat on balances on business account. So if you mean if people owe you money, there's account receivable, you have to pay zakat on it. If you owe people money, you can deduct it. Simple as that. If you owe people money, deduct it. If people owe you money, you give zakat on it. Um, I have asked a question in the YouTube chat in the very beginning of the presentation. May Allah reward you for your patience. There is a question that has been reposted here on the Masjid number in the text message. I have invested through a family member in the construction business. Okay, he has spent majority of the money, but still have some money in the bank account. Do I have to pay tax, or do I have to pay tax? I think you meant do I have to pay zakat on the entire amount of investment, or do I have to pay it on the money in the bank account? By spending, I meant he spent on the project. Okay. So this is interesting. So now the money that's in the bank account, definitely you have to pay zakat on that. Okay. And this is the brother or sister who has been waiting a long time. May Allah reward them for their patience. The money that's in the bank account definitely is zakatable. And the money that has been spent, if it's been spent on and is not there anymore, it has been spent for like for example paying off contractors, paying off different the masonry guy, the plumber, the electrician, landscaper, all the different trades. The money that has been spent, there is no zakat on that. But what is in the brick and mortar in the building, the brick and mortar of the building, that if it has any resale value that is going to be sold in the current shape it's in, that much would be zakatable, because that house that is being built, it's the intention of the construction is to sell it to make profit. So you would have to have someone assess it, or to the best of your ability, what the value of that is in its current state, and that much would be zakatable. If someone who has Nisab but is hand to mouth, are they eligible to receive zakat? No. If they are in possession of Nisab, and if you go with the gold standard, it's a pretty good amount, $4,800. They're not eligible to receive. Can you clarify the zakat on wealth of minor children? Things like gold they got as gift, bank trust accounts in their name, money set aside for education, wedding. All the money of minor children is not zakatable. As soon as they become baligh, then it becomes zakatable. All the money of minors is not zakatable. As soon as they become baligh, then they have gold, they have bank trust accounts in their name, money set aside for education, for wedding, all it becomes zakatable. In the past, I have given zakat to many organizations. Hope zakat has been discharged as the ownership to the needy was not fulfilled. Or organizations like etc. Yeah, that's a problem, because they do not pass the ownership to the needy people. Like a well, the well should be given through sadaqah, because no one owns the well. Hospitals, orphanages have to be supported, and number one, we say we need to support them, but through sadaqah. Medicines can be given through zakat to the needy. Right. Actually, another thing I didn't mention is that zakat doesn't have to be given in cash. You can give it in food, in medicines, in clothing, in blankets, as long as it enters the possession of the needy person. Inshallah, this is extended really long, and I may Allah Ta'ala reward all the brothers and sisters who participated, and may Allah Ta'ala grant you azim ajr, great reward for your sabr in acquiring knowledge. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told Abu Dhar radiallahu anhu, "Oh Abu Dhar," I'm closing the Q&A for now. He said, "Oh Abu Dhar, if you learn one ayah of the Quran is better than performing 100 nafal rak'ah." Subhanallah. And if you learn one chapter of deen, like we learned about zakat today, one whole chapter of deen, it is better than 1,000 nafal rak'ah. 1,000 nafal rak'ah. We barely pray the 20 rak'ah tarawih, we get tired. Imagine you just performed 1,000 nafal rak'ah. And I hate to repeat myself, but I have to mention at the end before the dua, please support our future scholars. Please help us with our zakat eligible students, and you will receive the reward for future ulama. My madrasa where I studied, and I'm the product of that, a lot of zakat was given to the students. And alhamdulillah, myself, I did not have to receive any zakat money, but many of my colleagues did, and they're doing great work of deen throughout the world. And there are parents who are making the sacrifice of sending their children to learn the deen, right? They can go into much more profitable, financially stable jobs and education. They could become doctors, engineers. They're very smart students, but they chose to study the deen, and they need our support. So please do not forget the DarusSalam students when you discharge your zakat this year. And I really, really cannot overemphasize this. We urgently need your help. Jazakumullahu Khairun. I don't know if any of the pledges came on the YouTube channel, did they? Some few pledges came in. May Allah Ta'ala give you tawfiq to fulfill those pledges. May Allah reward you for encouraging others. And the rest of you who are still have to calculate it, please do use the calculator. We have made a lot of effort in making this calculator. And you have a complete understanding now that we have gone through the whole presentation. So you can discharge your zakat and rest assured that it will be spent responsibly. Let us make dua, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. Oh Allah, accept this gathering, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, these brothers and sisters have been so patiently listening to this lecture and this talk on this workshop on zakat. May Allah, oh Allah, reward them abundantly from your fadl, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, allow us to discharge this obligation in the deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen, this pillar of the deen in the correct manner. Oh Allah, forgive us for our mistakes and lapses in the past. Allow us to continue to fulfill this obligation until we die, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, grant us the tawfiq to learn ilm regarding all the aspects of deen and to practice the deen accordingly. Oh Allah, accept our fast in Ramadan, our tarawih in Ramadan, our sadaqah in Ramadan. Oh Allah, protect us and our families from all the pandemics and sicknesses, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, grant your fadl upon us, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, forgive all our sins. Oh Allah, make us among those who worship you on Laylatul Qadr. Oh Allah, forgive us in this month of Ramadan. Oh Allah, free us from the fire of Jahannam in Ramadan, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Alhamdulillah.